got me fucked up. Right game, wrong nigga. Keep up the disrespect. I'ma show you I'm a real nigga. I don't play no fucking games, so hear me clearly. You gon' get fucked up if you get near me. Now I can get gangster if you keep talking your shit. Tricks is for kids. Better find your ass somebody to play with. Cause these hands is rated E for everybody. I don't give a fuck who you call, but you better call somebody. Cause ain't shit about me scary. You better guard your grill. Cause one thing about me, I ain't scared to kill. So go on and lace your boots up, and we can run them hands. You don't want these problems with this grown-ass man. You got me fucked up. Right game, wrong nigga. Keep up the disrespect. Keep up the disrespect. I'ma show you I'm a real nigga. I don't play no fucking games, so hear me clearly. You gon' get fucked up. You gon' get fucked up. If you get near me, if you get near me, you got me fucked up. Right game, wrong nigga. Keep up the disrespect. Keep up the disrespect. I'ma show you I'm a real nigga. I'ma show you I'm a real nigga. I don't play no fucking games. So hear me clearly. You gon' get fucked up. You gon' get fucked up. If you get near me. I see you must think I'm pussy, cause I let you make it. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. I'm a dog, I can't fake it. I've been trying to spare your ass, but I see you on a buck. You ain't scaring nobody, cause I'm dangerous as fuck. Now all bullshit aside, this ain't what you really want. I've been slapping bitches since grade school. Now play with me if you want. You done got away with a lot, but that shit coming to an end. Been nice for as long as I can. Ain't taking no more losses, so fuck you then. You got me fucked up. Hell yeah, you lost my trust. Yeah, I said fuck you with a lot of disrespect. Keep coming at me sideways, I'ma keep my foot on your neck. Right game, wrong nigga. Keep up the disrespect. Keep up the disrespect. I'ma show you I'm a real nigga. I don't play no fucking games, so hear me clearly. You gon' get fucked up. You gon' get fucked up if you get near me. You got me fucked up. Right game, wrong nigga. Keep up the disrespect. Keep up the disrespect. I'ma show you I'm a real nigga. I don't play no fucking games, so hear me clearly. You gon' get fucked up if you get near me. What's up, bitch? What's up, bitch?
No? Because I need it. Here.
That's sleepy.
It doesn't work like that with me, cuz.
Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. People call you crazy when you stand up for justice. If you have no heart, then you're not about justice. Put the mind to the pedal and the foot on the gas. Hit the overdrive tower coming at last. Everybody wants to eat when my people stay hungry. Blood in the book, slavery built this country. Came to this land by forced migration. Built this nation on blacks and plantations. You got nerve calling my people lazy. If you're living with interest, then you're gonna pay me. This ain't a moral problem, this is all about cash. 40 acres and a mule, stop hiding the stash. Karma hits you harder than a case of whiplash. Evidence is overwhelming, there is nowhere to dash. If you wanna run away, you'll be hitting the wall. Till you pay for reparations, you will steadily fall. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. We stay on code when I'm messing with you. People put this country red, white, and blue. If you don't like it, then you can kick rocks. As a collective, we're juggernauts. Light up the beats, start up the flame. Where's the money? You are to blame. Give me the cash, give me this land. This is our country, this is for fam. Call to sin, it's really a crime. Debt is due, haven't paid us a dime. Politics is your oppression. Black through time, you make Smith and Wesson. We don't make crack, lock us up for weed. They got our wealth, yes sir, indeed. But so we'll see, don't need you to leave. Cause all that you let is making my people bleed. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. Lineage all day, every day, any day. We don't play. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code. It's all about lineage, lock and load. And what you heard, we stay on code.
I like I'm probably the only one who likes it so much. I'm probably the only one that likes it so much, dude. I do. Like, it's right up my alley, dude.
That might. Well, you got me saying this shit. Love it though. Other races got their checks, their peace, their closure. We still got promises, but denying over and over. We built this shit, y'all were never here. Watch the wealth move everywhere but here. We marched for freedom, they cashed in on ours. Sat in the rain, they danced in the showers. Every bill with our name got stalled, rewritten. They quote our pain like scripture, but never listen. This ain't a handout, this a debt loan due. History knows it and the world do too. Pay with So cut the check, bitch. Reparations now, cut it now. Stop playing with our check, bitch. Da 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 da. We lived in movements, open the door. Then watched immigrants take the floor. Every law we bled to make the share. But when it's our turn, they dirty ass, never there. Immigrant seats block the claims we made. In political seats throwing shade. Saying if they can't pay, we can't get paid. Now that's the shit that can have you getting sprayed. Yeah. Green cards is your reparations. You're a hater. Here's our invoice for centuries of labor. The shift is here, paradigm real. Either cut the check or somebody will get. Until that day, we gotta tighten up. Build our own, pull our resources. We gotta tighten up. No more envy, no quiet divide. One code, one vision, one side. Group economics, that's the seed. Self-repair before they lead. No jealousy, no fear, no stall. Together we rise, or not at all. This ain't a handout, it's a debt long due. History knows it and the world do too. Pay what's owed, cut the check, bitch. Reparations now, cut it now. Stop playing with our check, bitch. This is the shift, the correction, the call. We built the foundation, we own it all. RVA forever. It's not begging, it's a debt that owed. Stupid ass.
Mike Larry, oh my God. I don't know what you did to create this song, but oh my God, this song right here, they gonna love it.
It's R&B Mary J. Blige. Mike Larry, thank you. We opened doors that they walking through. Built a house and shared a view. Somewhere along the line, they forgot who set the table. We gave the blueprint. Now they changing the label. You can copy the rhythm, but not the pain. You could sing the note, but not the chain. We cried in the fire, but came out gold. Still holding the story our elders told. We showed the world how to stand tall, and we ain't falling for the same games at all. This time we know what we're facing. We're reclaiming our foundation. This is delineation, a separation born of revelation. We drew the line to keep our power sacred. We are the soul, can't fake it, can't take it. This is delineation, yeah. We hold the root, they chase the vibration. We ain't hating, we preserving the truth. That's delineation. Too long we fed the world and went hungry. Shared our plate, but they called us ugly. Now we see the mask and the smiles face low. Can't build the future if they don't wanna know. We stood in the storm, they danced in the calm. Took our rhythm, tried to steal our song. But the melody lives where the struggle been. You can't touch soul if you ain't live within. We love the people. Every queen and king got a fame. Can't fight for freedom, didn't hide from the fight. If you eat at the table, you better bring life. Oh, through the nation, we ain't grateful, we awaken. We ain't breaking, we awakening. That line divine, we claim again it's not division, it's preservation. The truth, can't still control. gang that's patient. We ain't hating. We're cultivating the rules. That's delineation.
Yo, what you looking at, man? Man, I'm listening to all viral act.
All right, family. Here, okay. Yeah, God is not me. All right. I was smoking some weed with Jesse. Now I can feel it kicking in all of a sudden, all at the wrong moment. I felt it. I feel like it's like the ugly ass body eye. I don't care. She's giving like, you see her? Hold on, guys. Now you hold on. We'll see. Get it to where I want it. Jesse goes over there, full screen it. I couldn't.
All right, kids. When people ask, "Who is your favorite president?" I usually.
God damn, bro. Where's she at?
She right next to you.
Oh, let me see real quick. Okay. Oh. Come on, baby. Hey. Just act right, goddammit. Hi. What you doing? Ready to start the show? Hey, ready to start the show? What you up to? Creeping around? What you doing? Hey. Uh-oh. Scary noise. That's your brother. Hey. You see yourself? You see yourself in the sunglasses? Hey. I found you already. What are you doing? You better get down? Good, because you're warm. You're like sleepy warm. Sleepy warm. Okay. All right. Stinky paws. Okay. Stop being awkward. All right. I got that out the way. Let's see. Welcome to the Revolutionary Agenda. I'm your host, Seduction Dog, aka Lady Che, aka the Black Villain, aka Brandy. You can always call me the Black Villain. That's what we do, villainy, utter villainy. Let's see. I was on Grand Rising this morning. I was not very talkative. I did not have shit to say about anything. What happened? Nothing. Nothing's really happened. I've been in an odd ass mood all day. I think it's the retrograde thing. Maybe. I don't know. I felt like I needed to have my way today, but there really wasn't anything to protest about to get my way. So that makes sense. Took my hair down. It's not really. It looks short. It's just all curled up. So that's a good thing. Finally, I did get a sunburn. And it started to do the ugly thing it usually does. I guess it peels. It was on my arm. And never in my motherfucking life, and I say this, I mean this, never in my motherfucking life have I ever had a sunburn that blistered to where there was fluid underneath it. Never in my fucking life. And I didn't even think it was that bad as in the first place. I just thought it was annoying because, it was on my driving arm. And that was it, you know what I mean? But no, I was wrong. I was severely wrong. It's still fucking annoying, and I hope it hurries up and gets done. I had to talk about that for a minute because it's weird. I was like, why does it blister like that? Why? Considering all the shit I had on my arms, I really don't understand how that even happened. But it did. Oh well, everything else is fine. So that's all that matters. Did a lot of watching shows while I was over there at my house. So Game of Thrones is kicking ass. Or not Game of Thrones, House of Dragons is kicking ass, which is really good. What else did I watch? Hmm. What else did I watch? Oh, I watched a recommendation from Ray. I watched The Boys, and I gotta talk to him, man. I feel like, what the hell did I just watch? 5 seasons, I cannot get back. You know what I mean? I find that pretty funny. I'm at the, I'm at the Black House. Nothing really been going on. You think I have more exciting things to talk about, but I really don't. So we're gonna get into this show pretty quickly. Um, I kind of was just like browsing around, so I've been watching a lot of documentaries, and I don't think some of these documentaries that are like, I don't think we should watch them. I don't think we should watch them just because they're really negative. You think it's gonna go one way, and then it turns into something else, you know. So we'll see. I haven't been watching the news either, so I caught up a little bit when Jesse was at the house. Um, Black Alpha was kicking ass today. TBA was kicking ass the last couple of days, or on the weekend. So we're going up on another weekend. I feel like I'm missing something. It'll come to me. So we're gonna get started. Let's get started. What did I say? Throw these goddamn banners up. I want to shout out to Amanda Mass Media and all of our access for their musical content. I like Amanda Mass Media song. It's good. Let me see. Throw one of these up there for right now. Okay, family. Let's get over there. Let's see. Okay. I guess I just wasn't in the mood. I guess that's what it is. I'm probably just in an really odd mood. Probably because I seen the councilwoman here in Denver wants to run for mayor, and I was just like, "Are you serious? She's not even doing a great job as a councilwoman.
Right.
Like, what are you thinking? Like, who put this battery in your backpack? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not like, I tried to save you from one mishap that's gonna, turn and backfire on you, and now you're just walking into another flame. Like, all like you really like not even that great of a city councilwoman, and you said this was gonna be your only term. Didn't say you were gonna run for a higher position, right? She didn't say nothing like that. So she said this was gonna be her only term. So this is say your only term, and then you can go straight for the mayor's throat. You're not gonna stop at like House Representative or you know anything that would make sense. Like you just go straight for the jugular, right? And it's like you're not even against Lisa of all things, but not just that. Like not like, I mean, Lisa came pretty close a couple times, and she could take it this time. So
Last time.
yeah, like
we put a stop to that.
right. And I don't think I'm gonna be raining on parades this year. I feel like low energy about the rain on the parades and shit. I'd really be motivated. They're just doing the same old junk. But like you're not even like she's not even doing a great job as a councilwoman. I mean, how many times we checked that broad? Like too many.
Yeah.
And she's still fucking up.
Yeah.
I just want to know who gave her this confidence, because whoever did that, it's not like, okay, look, if you were doing an excellent job as a councilwoman, and you're really being about what you're saying, and you really cared about black people in Denver, then you'd be doing more black people's activities instead of just passing along proclamations like always. Like, come on, cuz you would be doing more. But I guess you're mad because um, I guess you won't talk to me about it. You won't talk to us about it because I did that LGBTQ fucking agenda shit during Pride and Juneteenth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You both did.
Yeah, but I started it. We can't never just have one thing. Like they gotta share with everything, and they get a whole motherfucking month. Like look, you can't be one of us, okay? If you're gonna put a whole month of an agenda of your sexuality before the one Emancipation Day, that's a national holiday now, right? And you're gonna get defensive over your sexuality versus your emancipation of your fucking ancestors. Alleged. You know what I mean? Right? Is it because that see the weed cleared it up for me, man. Sure, that made total sense, right? Right. So I'm just saying. That's what happened. I mean, I'm not lying. We could pull the beautiful bean footage if you want to, but I was like talking shit as usual. I think Sandoval cussed me out, told me to stop. And yeah, and she was like, "Why can't we have both?" Well, you can, but why do you get a whole month for your sexual agenda versus motherfucking your emancipation of your ancestors, right? Right. See, they'll say, "Well, it's only one day. Juneteenth is like Juneteenth is June 19th. It's only one day, right?" Okay. Well, last year it was what, one day? Yeah. This time it was 3 days, right? Was it one day? Yeah, last year. Yeah, and the year before, one day. So, um, it is a thing, okay? It is a thing, and because I really, technically, I really wasn't picking on it. I think I was just asking for them to do for them to be more, more, more black minded. I think that's why I was going with that. Nothing else, you know what I mean? I think that's where I was going with that. Drop my ring in my thing. Um, there's always this little chastisement between me and her. Okay, cool, whatever. But if you're not doing that great of a, of a job as a city council lady, like, who says you're doing a good job? The people aren't saying that. You know what I mean? The people are not saying you're doing a great job. In fact, the people are fucking, especially if you really want to be technical and you really want to ask black Americans what they think, black Denverites, they could say, she's doing a terrible job. They will. You know what I mean? I would gladly name some names, but I'm pretty sure that I don't want to do that. So, but let's just say about at least 20 black people that I know right now will say she's not doing that great of a job, that she should run for mayor. That's what they'll say. Not that she shouldn't do it, that she's not doing that great of a job. Okay, really. So I was kind of perturbed when I saw that, considering. And then me and Jesse both looked at each other, and I don't know what that look was about. Did you think you wanted to run for office, huh? Yeah, I saw that look. I saw that look. I saw the look. Yeah, the look. What else? Yeah, I was just kind of disturbed by that. I didn't think she was doing that great of a job. It warrants the run for mayor, and I like, why don't you start slow? Like, Jesus. Which means that seat opens up. Which means, when is that election? When's the mayor in November? When?
Next.
The mayoral?
Yeah, next April.
Why is she getting in so late? Questions. I got questions. Is it late or is it early?
Before petitioning time,
Early.
so,
What the? So if we don't get it November, ooh, you better not. You better not try to jump in on the end of that.
that's
I don't even think I have the capacity. I saw that look though. I saw that look. I know what that look meant. And I was feeling, so I was like, oh no. All right. All right, let's get back to it. I know I look just regular right now, so I don't care. We're gonna try to get through this. Queue. It's gonna be quick, maybe. I did a lot of skimming, so see what this is about. It says you're gonna want to know who this couple is moving forward. Okay.
yes.
What guess?
You know, nobody got you.
No.
Know what I mean?
I said hi to her.
That's it.
She wasn't. Yeah, she's not in there now.
Usually tell them that I don't root for enslavers and war criminals. That's who they are.
Our money look like baseball cards with slave rules on it.
They put themselves on currency and mountains and build libraries in their own image. Sure, some presidents are better than others, but that doesn't mean I like them. I don't know them personally. I am interested in personality, but I'm more into policy. It would take a lot for me to actually be a supporter beyond giving them my vote. I've never endorsed any politician at any level, let alone campaign for them, but that's kind of a cop-out on my part because in this day and age, someone can approach you with a camera and a microphone, only when that elected official messes up, mind you, and go, hey, what's up with your boy?
Does he have a problematic past? Yes.
He's the best candidate by far, and probing into the minutia of his personal relationships when you don't do that for any other candidate is ridiculous.
But I would rather have a redemption story than somebody telling you how wonderful they are.
Is there anything that would change your mind at this point?
Absolutely not.
If we want folks that are representing us from the working class, they're not necessarily going to have a groomed and perfect political record coming into the politics.
We're going to focus on Graham Plattner, the now former Democratic U.S. Senate candidate out of Maine. He recently announced that he was suspending his bid after a woman, a former girlfriend, accused him of sexual assault in 2021. He denies these allegations, and now leftists and progressives got some questions to answer. See, that scandal, in addition to his past Reddit post and extramarital affair, and having a Nazi tattoo but covering it up with something that I'm not certain is a whole lot better, had to have been known to those Maine voters I showed earlier. Even with that, it seems like the people in his victim's life would vote for him anyways if they had the chance.
I have friends who feel that way, and that's been a hard pill to swallow. And I guess I need to not ask, potentially. Maybe I need to not ask in order to not care what they do. I understand.
The bar is on the floor. With that said, I was going to ask, where is the line? I guess I want to know if there is one. Yes, we need more progressive voices in politics, and Susan Collins needs to go. I want the Senate. Can't believe I just put it that way. You'll see why later. Congress ought to be younger, and yeah, Palestine should be free, and I don't want tax dollars going to Israel. Access to free healthcare and education are long overdue. Higher wages and labor unions would be nice, although, is this embattled, embittered veteran, truly the embodiment of the change middle America wants to see in the U.S., while also wanting to bolster military arms and recruitment? Is he the best / easiest way to get these things? To what end? At what cost? The stamps that establishment Democrats use to write and send strongly worded letters to Trump and MAGA is nothing to them. Now they'll spare no expense at trying to rid their party of the few socialists and preventing entry to communists. Nobody's perfect, and sacrifices are in order. But look, we tell Republicans and American evangelicals that they wouldn't let Jesus and his brown self into the country. Well, the left wouldn't elect him. Shouldn't have healed that Roman cop's ear. And I hope that colonizer can hear me. With that said, you would vote for Barabbas, and I would too. Why though? Granted, a lot of folks still feel this way.
I don't even look at their political policies. I just look at their character. And I saw one thing on the campaign trail. He actually just picked the black baby up and kissed him. Come here, little nigger baby. Mwah, just kiss him. I said, I like that.
This won't be an I told you so video from a fellow leftist progressive because I haven't talked about this man. I'm not piling on. But the evidence that either the senile or a supervillain could get through a primary as long as they're a white guy from a small town is really piling up. Too many overlooked red flags for green initiatives. Let's get started. Graham Plattner was born in Blue Hill, Maine, raised by an attorney who graduated from an Ivy League school and an entrepreneur who ran a coffee shop, amongst other things. They were able to send him to a private boarding school in Connecticut for high school. B-Rabbit would have murked this dude for that amount of privilege, but Plattner was expelled. He then graduated from John Baptist Memorial High School, where he wrestled and was voted most likely to start a revolution. When he was 18, he heckled President George W. Bush about the U.S.'s involvement in Iraq. But then he joined the Marine Corps and served tours in that war. That's like teasing Ronald McDonald for his ice cream machines always being broken, but then fighting Grimace over a McFlurry. He was going to attend, but not graduate from, George Washington University. After the military, he became a small business owner and got involved with local politics and activism. The Prince of Sullivan, Maine. Then his life got twisted upside down.
Because you were recruited, right? Because they saw a video of you.
Yep.
And
Somebody saw a video of me talking about fighting a Norwegian salmon farm in our area. And they were like, that guy seems well-spoken. Maybe we should go talk to him. And they came to my house and they said that we should run for U.S. Senate. And my wife and I were like, that's the most insane thing we've ever heard. Please get out of our house. And then they came back a few days later with more of like a fleshed out plan. And at that point, we're like, oh my God, I mean, it's still insane, but there's something to it.
Graham Plattner was recruited by a couple, Daniel Morath and his fiancee, Leanne Fan, who claimed to have looked through thousands of prospects before coming across one of Plattner's videos. They were also impressed by the fact that he had donated to Bernie Sanders. And evidently, they didn't know much else about him.
At this point, you hadn't vetted Graham Plattner. You hadn't done a full scrub of who he is. How did you go about vetting him? And why did you?
We paid a nice firm a whole chunk of money and got some stuff back. Some of what you've seen on the news we got back. Other stuff we didn't.
Morath, a Yale Law School grad, and Fan, who went to Harvard and UC Berkeley, had originally met while working for Senator Bernie Sanders in 2020. And they admitted that they were going to go with another Mainer who was going to be Plattner before Plattner. However, at the last minute, they discovered that there was a skeleton in the closet that wasn't true that we would have had to explain. Politico said the pair decided to go in a different direction, literally, to Sullivan, Maine. And can you imagine what they found out about this dude to make them change their minds? He must have had Skeletor's bones in his closet. Anyways.
I said none of this will or should stop him from becoming a U.S. Senator.
And what was
Clearly
your thinking there?
Agree. I think if what the voters wanted were people who were grown in vats and had never done or said anything that they might regret their entire lives, we'd have a very different country.
Morris and Rebecca Katz, no relation, no seriously, and their consulting firm, Fight Agency, also jumped in, supposedly. They helped the likes of Zoran Mamdani, Greg Kaser, and Dan Osborne. And the ads must have worked. Plattner won his primary with 72% of the vote. The point is, though, the probably rich people who positively never worked a blue-collar job a day in their lives propped up this Ulysses S. Grant smell-alike borderline edgelord using a working class platform because they knew it would work on white liberals and the center left in Maine. And that method needed help and got it with this messenger.
There are people in the United States Senate right now who are not saints. I can tell you that.
Is he a saint? I guess not. I don't know too many saints.
Thank
you very much. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, we are not talking about why one person in America owns more wealth than the bottom 53%. How often do we discuss that on CNN?
Can we talk about both? I mean,
of course you could talk about both.
Sex scandals are one thing. How about physical, mental, emotional, or intellectual fitness? Where's the line there? Is there one? Senator Mitch McConnell could either be dead or in a vegetative state as we speak. I mean, sure, all of us have had 20-minute phone conversations with Mitch, even though we can't call him on command when asked to do so. Come on. Don't be ridiculous. And it wasn't that long ago that Joe Biden's mental capacity was constantly called into question and the topic of conversation. Since we didn't want a fascist in the Oval Office, millions were willing to suck it up. His performance, or lack thereof, during that 2024 presidential debate was the last of many soggy paper straws that came before it. Joe still believes he could have won. He could have. Amid jokes that his wife or others would run cover for him or puppet him if he earned a second term. There is precedent for that. None of this is new. On October 2nd, 1919, during the second half of his second term in office, President Woodrow Wilson suffered a massive stroke. His entire left side was paralyzed. It was nothing for him to get and be tired. He slurred his speech. He found it hard to concentrate on a conversation. Does any of this sound familiar? Others, especially his second wife, Edith, would have to tap him to get him to pay attention from time to time. Mark Rubio's current job. Edith was essentially the president for a while when the Treaty of Versailles was being discussed. This famous picture was faked. His woman pretty much propped him up to show the haters a photo of him, her, getting stuff done. I bet he would have won another term if he could get more than two. See FDR. Wilson's main op, who was trying to spell out the president's ailments, Senator Albert B. Fall of New Mexico, was later caught taking bribes and became the first cabinet secretary ever sentenced to jail. He was worried about the wrong sentence. Still an issue in politics at present. And hey, real quick, president and regulator Warren G. Harding, Ohio's own, had a mistress that was 31 years younger than him. He made a baby with that lady. In her tell-all book, The President's Daughter, Nan Britton revealed that Harding's secret child with her was probably conceived on his Senate office couch, which is why it leans a little bit to the left. Unlike Harding, his politics, not his. Did you know that Harding was prone to have sex in a White House coat closet? Also, History.com says that he had a code name for his penis. It was Jerry. The example they gave was, wish I could take you to Mount Jerry. And is that the best he could have done? Call that thing General Sherman or something, because it's making everything hot down south. Wilson and Harding's administrations were back to back, by the way. None of this sex stuff was newsworthy back then. Barry Sanders should be jealous of how much John F. Kennedy's Secret Service protected him so that he could keep putting balls in the end zone. Not that the media was even necessarily trying to report on these matters. That is until Clinton did not have sexual relations with that woman and Trump grabbed that Access Hollywood host by the Billy Bush. And are we being told by Graham Plattner's campaign, Maine voters, and the anti-establishment Dems that this material makes candidates more marketable? That's almost as dumb as this.
The one thing I know about Republicans, when we had a very bad candidate and found out, we didn't vote for that person. We walked away.
For better or for worse.
Yeah. When Matt Gaetz came forward, we got rid of him.
Yeah.
Mad convenient for Kevin McCarthy to bring up someone on his side of the aisle that he already had beef with. Former Representative Matt Gaetz and his alleged interest in high school age girls, and not the leader of his party or current or close to it Congress people like Chuck Edwards, Corey Mills, Tony Gonzalez, Anthony Despacito, William Timmons, and Jeff Duncan, just to name a few of the salacious scandals. Then there's the Max Millers of the world.
A lot of bad individuals who are rising up in politics right now. It includes Graham Plattner. He's got to go. But the fact that you just sit here and said that nobody cares that Max Miller beat his wife is highly alarming.
We're not here to talk about Max Miller.
We're here to talk about Graham Plattner. Talking about all of it. Because if we're not policing this conduct from people, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, it's not right.
My word, we can talk about both. I'm beginning to believe that our system of checks and balances is so that we can have an equal amount of mother in the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Brett Kavanaugh received a lifetime appointment as an associate justice of the Supreme Court after sexual assault allegations. And if you didn't notice, there ain't no brothers up in here. Oh, no, wait, me from the future. I know there are examples. Don't literally fade the black.
I, Clarence Thomas. I, Clarence Thomas. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear.
Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill. Got it. Okay. Mark Robinson lost his race to become governor of North Carolina, but I honestly don't think it was due to his abortion hypocrisy or wanting to sleep with his sister-in-law. I don't remember what the thing was. Herschel Walker, wow. Again, we're actually sounding like these people.
So I don't care if Herschel Walker paid to abort endangered baby eagles. I want control of the Senate.
Okay, well, there aren't black leftists that are doing any of this. There are black, actual blue collar, working class, non-APAC backed, of course, progressives who can be sold in these well thought out commercials and campaigns aimed at Gen Z and don't have checkered past, but the average American still finds them approachable. I had to look them up though. I'm interested to see if they get the same motion in black districts as their white counterparts do in white ones. I can't help but wonder how the vote would have turned out if Eric Swalwell didn't drop out of California's governor race and resign as a U.S. representative. Also, both Nancy Pelosi and Ro Khanna asked him to do so. Put that on there. His career survived an investigation into his dealings with that suspected Chinese spy, Fang Fang. How would the Dems justify him again in front of the GOP? And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to backdoor respectability politics into this episode. What the right and conservative commentators have to say should be of no concern. Yet, shouldn't there be a specific standard which has to be met that can be good enough for cable news networks, but not representative democracy?
I think that his relationship with his wife is his relationship with his wife.
But it's not just the wife. Another mistress is talking. She says she slept with Nipple in 2021 while he was engaged to a woman different than his current wife.
Jesse Watters cheated on his wife and left her for that younger Fox staffer. The guy he replaced, Tucker Carlson, was ousted in the midst of a sexism and harassment lawsuits. The guy he replaced, Bill O'Reilly, was fired after sexual harassment allegations. How these three men can get away with being snug and non-self-reflective is beyond me. We treat elected officials like athletes, celebrities, and entertainers. We shouldn't be fans of these people. We treat athletes, celebrities, and entertainers like they're infallible depending on the moves, media, movies, or music they make. We turn a blind eye and still lend an ear if they're on our team. In politics, we call that partisanship. I respect the separate the art from the artist argument. I do, to a certain point. Am I supposed to forget that Kanye was on some black Nazi Chicago Confederate type shit because he made Graduation? How do I know I'm not funding a new KKK mask by listening to Big Brother? That sample from Prince was so good. Truth be told, I allow myself to play last call when I'm sad about my career. I remember when, like, hours after Jonathan Majors was convicted of reckless assault in the 3rd degree and harassment of his ex-girlfriend, Disney/Marvel fired him. He could no longer be Kang the Conqueror. And up until that point, he had not only been Kang, but he was He Who Remains and Pharaoh Ramatut and Scarlet Centurion. And I wanted to see this thing through. Picture an Avengers movie. They're fighting a variant of Kang and doing whatever it takes to win. It took the duration of an entire movie, blood, sweat, tears, to beat him. Perhaps a little bit of a tear of Tiana Paris's suit side. Small peek. Not too much. And a few seconds later, a different version of Kang walks in with the foreknowledge that he would lose. In fact, he scripted it this way so that Steve, Tony, and Thor would be too tired. Man, he's at the end of time and he knows all and has seen all. He paved the road. And this sets up the next Avengers movie. Count me in. Do you want some of this? I wanted that. I was even willing to have Kang recasted. Where's Coleman Domingo when you need him? Full disclosure, then I found myself looking up what really happens with third-degree assault, and that's a bad place to be in. Back in 2004, Josh Brolin was arrested after his wife, Diane Lane, called the LAPD and alleged that he had assaulted her. She declined to press charges and the case was dropped. He was arrested 2 more times for alcohol-related incidents. And in the last 2 decades, he's been decently forthright with what allegedly happened. And I'm only aware of this because I was trying to rationalize Jonathan Majors' return to the MCU and figure out if racism was involved in their decision. What's the difference between Jonathan and Josh? Convictions, timing. One happened while they were under contract with Marvel and Disney, and the other was before. Okay. Hey, we love a redemptive arc. It's part of the hero's journey. However, Graham Plattner was never really good. Military deployment and discharge and all. He blamed some of his shortcomings on PTSD and a subsequent drinking problem, which is a thing. But he's a villain, one that a certain segment of the population views as a likable, personable, relatable antagonist. They're not one-dimensional big bads anymore. Not in a Magneto kind of way that you can understand because he was a Holocaust survivor and is a minority as a mutant, but takes the superiority thing too far. But in a, yo, Thanos, you've come around to the idea that you want to double the resources instead of killing people, which you also like to do, but nobody's asking you to sacrifice a woman, let alone anybody, in order to do so. Kind of way. Multiple things can be true at the same time. Magneto was right, period. Thanos was right about wanting to get rid of half the people. That's it. Looking at electoral maps and exit polls. Graham Plattner wasn't even anti-racist or anti-capitalist. Didn't matter to European Americans. Can the racial and ethnic majority of this country within or near my ideology admit that, for example, John Fetterman was better than Dr. Oz, but he's still bad, right? So willing to settle. Progressive policies are popular in these United States, and we can't find a well-to-do, non-ne'er-do-well to promote them. A Tiana Paris-looking Black woman can't draw a distinction between explaining Medicare for all or single-payer healthcare options where applicable. I need a valid excuse as to why. Black and brown candidates on the center left almost have to feature pristine personal lives and personalities. The Obamas and Mamdanis of the world present themselves in such a way that right-wing media talks about what they wear. They have little on them and their past, so they start making stuff up. Just like so many I've already named on both sides, Graham Plattner will have an opportunity in the future to stage a comeback. Wave around a newfound adherence to Christianity, get a best Black friend or something, adopt a gay or they child. He'll be well within the white left good graces again. Until then, I recognize the spot and space that we're in. Midterms are coming. The last 2 years, hopefully, of Trump's regime can lose steam if he does not have the House and Senate. And we're almost within striking distance of choosing a 2028 presidential nominee to combat Vance or Trump, if I'm being real. Multiple wars and genocides have been or will be raging for years with no end in sight. And I've told my wife that if she ever saw me campaigning for anyone at any time, then there must be something wrong because I need an attitude adjustment. Pathetic. Evidently, I would have to find this person, though. We're going to be all right.
We sure are. First of all, that shit was crazy.
Do you ever get the feeling you're being watched? An eerie sense
Let's talk about
that the deck is stacked against
Hold on.
you by someone.
God, the thing is touchy. How they didn't even really vet that dude. They didn't really vet him. Like some rich people just said, "Hey, I think you'd be good for it," and put him up to it. So that's the type of shit I'm talking about. Who put the battery in his back? Then you see it, right? And he was getting hated on by his exes. The exes were like, "No, we can't see you win. You're a fuck up." That's some scorn Karen shit right there. Do wish Jonathan Majors could get back into the film. I was just like him thinking about that. I was thinking about that for the last couple of days. I said, man, you know what would be good? Is a Marvel flick with some Jonathan Majors. I was saying that just the other day. We're gonna move forward. Let's go up here. I was just saying that.
Someone or something hovering in the corner of your eye. You're not alone. According to a recent Gallup poll, 7 out of 10 Americans oppose the construction of data centers in their backyard to power AI. But despite this incredible statistic, opposing ChatGPT and sprawling server farms could be the reason you show up on a federal watch list, according to documents I obtained and published with Wired. This is America's new surveillance regime. With the help of insider voices, we'll paint a picture of the deep state embarking on a vast new conspiracy. This time, the government's fight isn't with foreign adversaries like Iran, China, or Russia. It's here on American soil, and its alleged enemies are everyday Americans working everyday American jobs. The goal isn't protecting national security, but the profits and feelings of corporate America.
This is telling the Justice Department, the FBI, the DEA, the Secret Service, all these agencies, hey guys, we have to focus on this.
The price of gas, food, childcare, everything is going up. And to see something that characterizes class-based or economic grievances as an indicator of terrorism or a dangerous belief is really shocking.
My name is Daniel Boguslaw, and I'm an investigative reporter covering national.
That last name doesn't even sound real. Bogus law, okay? I could just break that down in two ways. That didn't sound good. Of course, they would be making surveillance like that, and any kind of economic grievance is considered threatening. What do you think was going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? If the government is taking everything from you and causing you to lose your job and, be economically poor, you're coming down to our level with the benign neglect, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to start seeing anger rising up and people getting upset, and then they fear what the people are finna do, or the people might do, or what they think might happen. Is what I want to say. So of course it'd be terroristic. Of course they would act like it is not. Considering they know exactly what the fuck they're doing, so this is another symptom of what they're causing. What they're creating. This dystopian poverty. You know what I mean?
National security and U.S. intelligence agencies. Stick with me over the next few minutes. We'll not only outline this new conspiracy, but for the first time, we'll reveal one government agency that is taking on an unprecedented role in the war against workers. Lists are being drawn up, new categories of dissent are being formulated, and the citizens being targeted are just like you. Let's take a look at what your government doesn't want you to know. The clearest signpost of a new mass surveillance and intimidation campaign taking place across the country is an unassuming 5-character acronym, NSPM7, short for National Security Presidential Memorandum 7.
Can we assume that you or persons under your direction at the Department of Justice have prepared that list of groups or entities who are designated as domestic terrorist organizations? And I just remind you, that's a yes or no question. Did you prepare
I'm not
the
going to
list?
answer it yes or no.
This was the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi refusing to answer a member of Congress's question about the formulation of secret lists of subversives under NSPM 7. And her efforts to obscure the narrative around this program go even deeper. My former colleague, independent journalist Ken Klippenstein, began investigating the investigators and obtaining confidential documents. In response, Klippenstein had several visits from Bondi's direct reports at the FBI. So I booked a trip to Madison, Wisconsin to talk to him about it.
At this point, I've had 2 visits for stories that I've done from different FBI agents. One was from a field office at Middleton, which is like 15 or 20 minutes from where I live here in Madison, Wisconsin.
I asked Ken to take me back to the start of this conspiracy. 7 months ago on September 25th, 2025, when President Trump signed an executive order that unleashed drastic impacts and very little media scrutiny.
It's really a significant order because when it was first handed down, I think there was a lot of confusion about what it was, or questions about, oh, this is just rhetoric. Trump says a lot of things, which he does say a lot of things that there's, it's just Trump saying crazy things. But this was absolutely something that has been interpreted by the federal government as something that we're going to operationalize.
But where did NSPM-7 and the FBI's visit to Ken come from?
NSPM-7 and those visits are related to a sense of paranoia that I think pervades certainly the national security establishment as a result of some of the high-profile acts of violence that we've seen, the attempted assassination of President Trump when he was on the campaign trail, the murder of Charlie Kirk, murder of the CEO of United Healthcare, which has created, when I talk to people from these agencies, a sense of that there's an uprising against the kind of political elite.
While the average American who takes issue with the greed of big corporations, the overreach of big government, and sky-high health insurance rates isn't about to commit an act of political violence, they're being targeted by the same powers used to target lunatic assassins.
It's unusually open about what they're targeting. And on the list are things like anti-Christian sentiment, anti-traditional family sentiment, anti-Americanism.
What about anti-capitalism? Is that on the list?
Yes, anti-capitalism is also on the list.
Anti-tech sentiment has also showed up in federal law enforcement documents as a focal point of surveillance. Ken told me that these extremely broad and vague categories aren't just talking points, but massive dragnets to swoop up all kinds of speech and dissent.
So this is telling the Justice Department, the FBI, the DEA, the Secret Service, all these agencies, hey guys, we have to focus on this. And what we're focused on is that list of so-called indicators that I was describing before that are supposed to tell you, or the administration says is supposed to tell you, what will portend future acts of terrorism. This is something on which people are being promoted, resources are being allocated at the field office level in all 52 FBI field offices across the country.
NSPM-7 is a public record, but confidential documents Ken obtained show how it's been interpreted by intelligence agencies to become a guiding force in intelligence collection.
Yeah, so I was leaked a copy of the Department of Homeland Security's strategy, and it had a new term, class-based or economic grievances. They're worried about terrorism as defined by class-based or economic grievances. Typically, when you have a counter-terror approach, that's supposed to be focused on groups like Al-Qaeda or ISIS. So this is something that you don't want to be deploying against U.S. residents or U.S. citizens. And it's defined around, again, these terms that would define probably most of the people I know. I mean, who is happy with the economic state of affairs? Probably relatively few people, probably a minority.
The vast expansion of authorities has terrifying implications, according to Ken.
So under this counterterrorism approach, they have a lot more authority than police normally have because they don't have to go to a judge. They can just say, oh, these indicators predict that something might be committed later.
After the rollout of NSPM-7, I got curious about how the new powers were playing out at the local level across the country. I began contacting sources in towns big and small, trying to extract records from federal intelligence agencies. A few months ago, I finally got my hands on records that show NSPM-7 investigations are already taking place in FBI field offices from Boston to San Francisco. The Bureau even made this handy map, which was not supposed to leak to the public. I also discovered that briefings, intelligence reports, and investigative notes are being circulated in over 70 government buildings across the country, ominously called fusion centers. These dystopian centers serve as a two-way street between local and state law enforcement and federal agencies like the Department of Homeland Security and FBI. By fusing state and federal intelligence, these centers give federal surveillance agencies far greater power to shape how local and state police think about domestic threats, like normal people pissed off about the price of groceries and health insurance.
These are like local law enforcement entities that was essentially warning all the other CEOs, oh, there's some
Tell you, man, that's like that that crime radar shit that's on the news break. There's always some suspicious action. Always the way it's worded is suspicious in itself. It's always some police surveilling some bullshit or talking over dispatch about some operation they're finna run and shit. It's always something, and it'll be right there in plain black and white for you to read. You know what I mean? Then there might be like a little couple of second clip of audio that you can hear, but it's like, god damn, you're reading it, you're like, this doesn't sound nefarious at all, not even a little bit. You're just casually staking out somebody's open garage, huh? Like they've been in and out the garage all day. So fucking what? Maybe they live there. Shh. You go to certain areas, certain parts of the suburbs, people are in and out their fucking garage, kicking back, cleaning it, looking at planting flowers, fucking doing nothing. Just opening the garage door, just staring out at the houses across the street. Jesus. And you got you got live stakeouts. It's like, for what? I mean, you've been there all day. Fucking, you obviously didn't see what you wanted. Scoot on, shit. But it's a whole thing. Just like the crime radar set. That's just kind of like, I bet you that's part of it. I'm gonna look into it. So just keep an eye on it. God damn, this is interesting.
Campaign against CEOs. We need to worry about the threat posed by this.
In the wake of the killing of United Health CEO Brian Thompson by alleged killer Luigi Mangione, a state fusion center analyst warned in a document I obtained that, quote, the public may view the ensuing manhunt and subsequent arrest of Mangione as NYPD and largely policing as a whole as a tool that is willing to expend massive resources to protect the wealthy, while the average citizen is left to their own means for personal security. This report seemed to even acknowledge that viewing CEOs as the main demographic to protect would only further enrage working people. Quote, it is not an unfair comparison to equate the current reaction towards Mangione to the reactions to Robin Hood. Citizens may see Mangione's alleged actions as an attack against a system designed to work against them. As I wrapped up my time with Ken, we reflected on the fact that his home state is also where Joseph McCarthy launched the Red Scare over a half a century ago. This is also the home state of one Senator Joseph McCarthy, the guy who really created nationwide frenzy around left-wing movements, infiltrating labor unions, scaring the bejesus out of anyone that seemed un-American. Very similar in some sense to the architecture laid out by NSPM 7, no?
Yeah, and it's interesting because Wisconsin historically was one of the test beds for the New Deal and for progressive legislation. And it's interesting because you have in these two tendencies, the two different visions that exist for the society. One of paranoia and security and control and just worrying about threats everywhere. And another one being building some kind of a, social fabric.
We have a long history in this country of these sorts of agencies targeting the Black Civil Rights Movement, targeting the Multiracial Poor People's Campaign, targeting Occupy Wall Street. This is the latest iteration in that.
That was Spencer Reynolds. He understands the internal apparatus of intelligence agencies because he used to work at one.
I was at the Department of Homeland Security for about 7 years, where I was a domestic intelligence and counterterrorism attorney.
Spencer told me that corporations and Wall Street firms get a direct line to the spy agencies seeking to batter down dissent. In other words, CEOs literally have their own seat at the deep state's table.
DHS, the FBI, Department of Justice are deeply enmeshed with big business and corporate security offices. And they do that in a few key ways. First, they all sit together at those fusion centers where information is swirling back and forth. And in that environment, they can provide intelligence to security offices at businesses that will then use it for their own business interests. They can also collect what they might call tips and leads from corporate partners who give them people to look into, or incidents or events and protests, for instance, to look into. So that's one thing.
It turns out, though, that in addition to actually sending liaisons to fusion centers, the Department of Homeland Security also has a two-way newsletter between businesses and intelligence analysts.
DHS has platforms like the Homeland Security Information Network. The information that's provided on there can often include information about protests, constitutionally protected speech and activity.
But that's not all. There are also entire conferences dedicated to corporations snitching on consumers to the deep state.
One of those is the Domestic Security Alliance Council, which is a consortium of business members, and it promises on its website a direct line to DHS and the FBI.
The result of all these systems is a vast intelligence apparatus trained on people standing up to billionaires.
During Occupy Wall Street, after the banking industry had gutted the world's economy and plunged us into recession, there were again organic uprisings of people who were concerned, upset about that, felt alienated and left out by our economic system. And DHS spent a lot of time monitoring those protesters, the intelligence offices.
To showcase what corporations working hand in hand with the government looks like, let's go back to 2015, when workers at Walmart, the largest retailer in the world, launched a campaign for living wages and benefits. Internal Walmart documents obtained by Bloomberg showed that after the mega retailer hired a Lockheed Martin contractor to monitor union activists and protesters, the internal tracking and monitoring wasn't enough. They also contacted one of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Forces when union activists planned to protest the annual shareholder meeting. But while the FBI is one of the most well-known offenders when it comes to violating constitutional rights, a different agency, one that was created for the very purpose of protecting workers, is now going after them. The Department of Labor doesn't have an official intelligence component, but its Office of the Inspector General holds powerful investigative capabilities and liaisons with the FBI and other intelligence agencies, including DHS. It has also shown up on the Department of Homeland Security's joint task forces across the country. DOL's top cop is literally a former cop, Inspector General Anthony Desposito, who previously served as an NYPD officer, and he was accused of stealing a golden chain from an arrestee and then lying to put a different guy in jail. The NYPD later paid out a six-figure settlement to that guy. But even more concerning than Desposito is the top DOL lawyer, Jonathan Berry, the Solicitor General. While working as a corporate lawyer, Berry penned the chapter on the Department of Labor in the policy manual developed by the Anti-Worker Heritage Foundation, known as Project 2025. In the chapter, Berry calls for the transformation of the Department of Labor from a watchdog to ensure workers are protected from predatory corporations to an investigative arm targeting workers and unions. The chapter calls for using the Office of the Inspector General to look into worker centers across the country. But it also calls for investigating unions without any initiating complaint, meaning investigations into workers and their unions could be undertaken without probable cause, at any time and at any location across the country. While Jonathan Berry's playbook takes shape, Spencer told me there's another element from the Department of Labor already in play.
We talked about these Homeland Security task forces, and the Department of Labor, through its Office of Inspector General, participates in those task forces. When you look at the press releases touting DOJ successes, they often include Department of Labor there, and it's usually through the Office of Inspector General. It's concerning because I think there is that risk to investigate workers.
In other words, the Department of Labor has found a way to inject itself into the dirty business of intelligence work. So where does this leave you, the American worker? Well, believe it or not, there's a vast range of tools to fight back against government surveillance. Cities across the country have used their city council to terminate partnerships with the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Forces, carrying out NSPM 7. Unions like the American Federation of Teachers and United Auto Workers are suing the government to shut down unconstitutional surveillance. And whether in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where local residents drove agencies like ICE and CBP out of their communities, or in the nationwide upheaval to force the FBI to release its files on Jeffrey Epstein, the demands of the public continue to have a massive impact on the federal government's actions. The three-letter agencies, whether DHS, FBI, or CIA, would have the American public believe that their war on working people is already won. But that lie couldn't be further from the truth. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our work, please like this video and subscribe to our
Well, this is like, the new black media has warned us about this, especially like the Black Authority has warned us about this many times. So this is like it's news we could use, that's for sure. He has warned us though. Okay. Let's go to see what where I was going with this. Okay. Here we go.
We are beginning tonight with something that is not getting enough attention, but I will tell you right now is going to shock you. a massive alleged fraud scheme unfolding right now in the United States. It's one with allegations of human trafficking, exploitation, and even death. Scammers are allegedly recruiting and in some cases kidnapping vulnerable people with promises of free addiction treatment and then moving them into fraudulent sober living homes using their names and health benefits to bill Medicaid for treatment that was never provided.
This is that shit, man. It takes all these bad apples to watch what happens.
Advocates say some bogus providers were billing as much as $8,000 a day per person. Attorneys representing victims say an estimated $3 billion in American taxpayer money has already been lost to this alleged scheme, with the total, by the way, potentially reaching $8 to $12 billion. And now, the law. There is a class action lawsuit representing thousands of alleged victims that accuses the state of Arizona of ignoring warning signs and failing to stop all of this. The apparent scheme has left families searching for missing loved ones, people desperately escaping facilities. Attorneys and advocates claim as many as 2,000 people are missing or have died as a result of this reported operation. Reva Stewart is an advocate helping people and families caught up in this crisis.
Who's going to be their voice? Who is going to be the voices for everybody that was hurt by this? How do we keep helping our people if nobody else is going to help? How do I keep moving forward if nobody's going to listen?
So who are the scammers targeting? Native Americans. The victims allegedly came from tribal communities in Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Montana, South and North Dakota. The Associated Press reports as many as 7,000 Native Americans were recruited and scammed into moving into.
Okay, well now this makes sense, right? Like, so I was this is off topic. I was looking through my YouTube algorithm so I could find some shit to, put up there so we could discuss some things, right? And all I kept seeing was Native American this, Native American that, blah 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 blah. Real portraits of Native Americans. Ooh, this whole documentary, right? That we were here first, that type of shit, right? And I was like, why in the fuck I don't give a fuck. Like, I've already had my experience thoroughly with Native Americans several fucking different times. And first of all, they don't recognize me, they don't like me, and I'm not nothing to them, right? No native blood, right? There was even a documentary talking about your blood calls you. Your blood tells you where you're from. Like, are you serious? I wonder if I even put that in there. If not, I will find it in the other queue. But Jesus, okay? This is like what's been going on over there. Like, no. Okay? I've seen this all through today's timeline, okay? Normally it's usually I'm looking at war stuff or black stuff. You know what I mean? Or election stuff. 3 things. And then I'm listening to fucking music. This is crazy. So all today, just like a little bit ago, I was scrolling through the top, through the algorithm. I was like, dude, Native American, Native American, Native American, Native American. I was like, now, so this is what it is. When it said 2,000 dead or missing, I'm like, is it fucking old girl Nancy Guthrie's mother, fucking Savannah Guthrie's mother missing still? I mean, didn't she live out there? I was gonna count that as one of the missing. Wasn't there like 11 other fucking scientists missing out there? You know what I mean? I was gonna check that off too. So that's right there. That's like 8 people. You know what I mean? They're talking about 7,000 of these. Okay, for up to 7,000 people recruited or whatever. And it says Native Americans are allegedly the ones that are targeted. No wonder. I was like, is this it's like Native American month? Like, what am I seeing? You know what I mean? All I see is motherfuckers say, we were here first. That's all I heard. That's like, I seen 4 fucking different documentaries talking about Native Americans were here first. And you know what Native Americans they're talking about, right? They're not talking about the black Aboriginals, Aboriginal Indian, the ones that are here with the jet black skin and the long black hair. No, we're not talking about that, okay? We're talking about the European $5 pretendian types. The ones that intermingled with the whites. That's what we're talking about. That's where this is going. I'm like, oh my God. The ones that look Mexican.
to illegitimate sober living homes in recent years. And why were they targeted?
Also, is this because, ICE was like picking them up all over the place in Minnesota? Is that another reason? I don't know.
Because fraudsters can easily exploit their health care. You see, eligible Native American patients can receive coverage through Arizona's American Indian Health Program, which is part of the state's Medicaid system, And under that system, registered providers could bill Medicaid directly for each therapy session and addiction service or behavioral health treatment they claim to provide. In other words, once they got people into these homes, the alleged scammers could begin turning each person into just a steady stream of Medicaid payments. The more people they recruited and the longer they kept them there, the more money they made. So how'd they get people into these homes? According to the National Indian Council on Aging, recruiters allegedly approach people at gas stations and grocery store.
I mean, isn't this part of their reparation shit? They got land, doctors. They got their own shit. They got their own shit. So this must be the wayward ones. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, he's talking about they got their own shit.
Parking lots, even bus stops. They promised them food and shelter and addiction treatment. There are reports of people being picked up in unmarked vans and driven from remote areas of the Navajo Nation to Phoenix. And it wasn't just people struggling with addiction. Advocates say even Native American elders, some with no drug or alcohol addiction at all, were brought into these homes. And once people were inside the homes, this is when the allegations got even darker. Attorneys representing the victims, who you're going to hear from in just a moment, say that they have heard allegations of sexual assault and physical harm. They say some victims arrived with an alcohol addiction and they left addicted to meth and fentanyl. People have died. As we mentioned earlier, advocates and attorneys claim as many as 2,000 people may be missing or died in connection to this alleged scheme. So what's being done? Well, Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays says that her office has brought at least 180 indictments, secured dozens of convictions, helped drive a 92% drop in fraudulent billing since 2023. Here's how Mays explained the crackdown.
This fraud was allowed to metastasize largely because the people in charge prior to 2023 were asleep at the wheel. He felt it was necessary to be aggressive because of the amount of fraud that was going on.
And Governor Katie Hobbs has said that Arizonans should be outraged by this scandal while calling it a humanitarian crisis. But the attorneys behind this class action lawsuit say the state's response came years too late, alleging state agencies knew about the fraud as early as 2019 after a whistleblower came forward, failed to stop it before this scheme grew into billions of dollars in improper Medicaid billing. Two of the attorneys leading that lawsuit join me now, John Brewer, Dane Wood. They're from the Brewer Wood Law Firm in Phoenix. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for taking the time. John, I'm going to start with you. We're calling this an alleged Medicaid fraud scheme. It feels like human trafficking. Is that what it should be called?
Yes, Jesse, and thank you for having us. It clearly is a human trafficking and not just a Medicaid fraud scheme, because the two of them go hand in hand. They're inexorably intertwined, because as you just mentioned earlier, they were held against their will. They were given drugs. They were given alcohol. They were picked up. They were promised certain things. And as soon as they got in those homes, their phones were taken away, etc.
I'm going to follow up on that. But just, John, the class action lawsuit, where does it exactly stand today? Because I understand the state tried to get it thrown out, tried to get it dismissed. The courts are letting it move forward?
Yes, sir. They filed a motion to dismiss at the trial court level. They filed an appeal with the Arizona Court of Appeals. We prevailed there. And then they tried to file a petition for review with the Arizona Supreme Court, and we prevailed there.
Okay.
So now it's back down to the trial court level.
And this is the question that may come out of this. Dane, who do you believe is behind this? It feels very organized. Are we talking a criminal network? Are we talking sober home operators, recruiters? Are there government employees a part of this?
Jesse, thank you for having us. Yes, all that you've mentioned are all involved. At the start of this, when it was first brought to the attention of the state, was in 2019, and it grew and grew and grew rapidly from there. And the state just continued to let it happen, enabled it, was funding it, and then it exploded into over several years from a low $43 million of fraud to over $3 billion in fraud and maybe as much as $8 to $12 billion in fraud.
Dane, I go back to one of the most chilling aspects, the people who died, the people who are missing. What exactly happened to them? I mean, the people who died, what happened to their bodies?
You know, many of them are in unmarked graves. They were never accounted for. There's just the stories we've heard have just been horrific. Everyone from being massive overdoses, alcohol and drugs in the homes themselves. These are programs that were designed, there's so-called sober living programs. They were just the opposite. They were feeding their addictions to control them with alcohol and drugs to keep them addicted so they could continue the billing for longer periods of time. And so the stories of overdoses and people trying to escape, people being shot, we had one gentleman, his blood alcohol level was 0.543. No, there's more alcohol than blood in his bloodstream, and they dumped him in the street in front of a sober living home.
And by the way, just to follow up on that, there were convictions for this, or do you still feel there's criminal cases that need to be had, Dane?
There's been convictions, mostly sweetheart plea deals. In other words, people given probation for this. There's less than 5, probably about 3 people in state prison for this. You're talking billions of dollars, thousands of people harmed, and there's about 3 people in prison for this, when there's hundreds of fraudulent providers. The Access, the state Medicaid agency itself, had suspended over 400 of these entities. And again, there's only 3 people in prison.
That's shocking. That's shocking. And this is putting a big spotlight on state government, but it also putting a face to this. John, I want to ask you about Randy. Randy's the lead plaintiff in this case. We have pictures before and after her addiction to fentanyl. Who is she? What happened to her? How did she become the lead plaintiff?
Well, Randy is your classic case. Randy ended up, she went into a sober living home. She actually got pregnant and was not drinking, and she was not partaking in any drugs. And essentially what transpired was she lost the baby, had a miscarriage, and she started drinking again. And she woke up one morning, Christmas Eve, and she was hungover. And as in almost all of these fraudulent sober living homes, they gave her, she said, I don't feel good. The house manager walks up and says, take this. She takes the pill, it's fentanyl. She goes into cardiac arrest, lack of oxygen to the brain, and she's forever in that vegetative state as you're showing right there. She became the lead plaintiff because her story is so tragic. And as you can see from the picture on the left, she has 2 teenage boys. And the state knew about this stuff. They knew about drugs and alcohol in the homes. In their own documents, they say that they knew in early 2020, but we know that it was in 2019 that essentially that they were using drugs and alcohol to control these natives. And that's the state-owned documents.
So let's talk about the state. Aside from the fact that side-by-side picture, if this goes to trial, this is going to be, I think, the main photo that a jury could potentially see. John, someone say, how is this possible? This happens in America. How is this allowed to happen? Because it seems that the impetus is on the state, and you tell me, is it incompetence? Is it a level of being complicit? Is it corruption? Is it willful blindness? Because one of the things you mentioned is a memo that warned officials in 2022. So talk to us about this, John. I mean, how is it possible? And according to you, what is the strongest evidence that the state was somehow involved in this in whatever way possible?
Well, that memo was particularly important because it talks about internal corruption within, that was DHS, but also there's internal corruption within Access. Access is the state.
They haven't asked the fucking thing yet about he's just sitting there asking stupid questions. He hasn't asked, was she part of a tribe? Did her people come from a tribe? Does this happen on tribal grounds, off tribal grounds? What does the tribal jurisdiction have to say about this? Do they have any claims to the Medicaid situation? Have they filed on behalf of so and so? Surely you just because she's in a vegetative state doesn't mean that nobody took no blood to see where she's from, right? Who taking care of her other two children? Is there gonna be, are they gonna constantly keep her in that vegetative state, or is that it? That's a wrap. You know what I mean? Again with the tribal shit, like she's obviously you keep saying Native American to what? Like, you know what I mean? Like they haven't asked any of these questions yet, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, well, the tribe doesn't have Medicaid insurance or medical insurance. Like, what's cracking with that? Again, I have questions. The reason I keep bringing up tribes because they keep saying Native American and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Another word, another broad and ambiguous term like indigenous. You know what I mean? So like, these are ambiguous wordings. I have questions. I'm like, are you gonna ask those questions, cuz? Because he's just asking not any of those questions.
State-run Medicaid agency. That memo in particular named an individual, Leroy Davis, who was making $52,000 a year for DHS. He owned in a very wealthy community here in Phoenix area called Paradise Valley. He owned a lot there, it can be no less than an acre. He owned a brownstone off Central Avenue, and he was taking pictures with Ferraris, Lamborghinis, showing Louis Vuitton boxes, and he was making $52,000 a year. It was hand delivered to the Attorney General at the time. However, the most important thing is it was all the people that were there, the prosecutors, the special agents, the investigators, everybody rank and file is still employed and still working for the Attorney General's office. And so they waited until the fall of 2024 to indict him, only because that memo was in our notice of claim and it was in our lawsuit. And it wasn't until the newspaper were about to get it through a FOIA request that the state finally acted. And arrested him.
I want to get to that, what's happening right now. But Dane, just to jump on this, you've accused the state employees of essentially, quote, checking the box on these payments. How do you intend to prove this? Is there internal communications? Are there emails? Is there whistleblowers? I mean, that they were looking, turning a blind eye, that they were part of it. Talk to us about that, Dane.
Well, our state's attorney general has called it herself a colossal failure of government, that these rank and file employees within Access, you've got the Access employees from enrolling the providers to billing all the way through that were failing. You had the Access Office of Inspector General, OIG, which is in charge, which is tasked with investigating, detecting fraud. They have fancy titles like fraud examiners, all these things. How are they not catching this? Okay, one provider had charged and billed and collected $650 million. One provider had charged, and how do you not know?
Right, real quick before you leave or you dip off somewhere. Okay, listen, I gotta tell you something funny. I offer your recommendation because I watched The Boys, right? That's 5 seasons of my life I cannot get back. That shit was fucking crazy. I hope you finished it. That shit was fucking crazy. I got so much to talk about with that. This is a major unpacking of that whole fucking show. That show is just 5 seasons I cannot get back. Well, good. That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good right there. Keep up the good work. I just want to tell you about that. That show was like beyond disturbing. Let's put it that way. Let's see what more lives Cuz about to say.
Notice that, and lives were being lost during the course of this. We recently heard Dr. Oz say that if they'll take the money, they'll take your health and they'll take your life. That's exactly what was going on.
What's their defense? What's their defense? Dane.
That's a great question, because we don't see a valid defense here whatsoever. What happened here was an absolute tragedy. It's called a sober living crisis for a reason, because and our government has called it a colossal failure of government for a reason, because it was just that.
John, what's happening today? You know, the state says things are different today. You have Attorney General Chris May says that her office has brought more than 168 indictments. Fraudulent billing has dropped 92% since 2023. Governor Hobbs is rolling out this AI tool to flag suspicious claims before they're paid. Is this still, in your opinion, happening today? Are these changes enough?
Well, the indictments, it's a false number. The indictments, as you know, as being a lawyer, Jesse, that's a one-sided jury trial. You're presenting evidence to a grand jury, and then they get indictments. And then once they indict those folks, they're sweetheart deals. As Dane mentioned, there's only approximately 3 people in prison. They have not charged anybody with crimes against persons. They haven't charged anybody for negligent homicide. They haven't charged anybody for manslaughter. And they very well should. They did convict somebody named Dr. Rita. And guess what? Randy was part of her network. And why hasn't she been charged? She's been charged and sentenced. So why wasn't she charged with Randy's crime? Because she was working with somebody where Randy was housed. So I can tell you, when they do 92% shutting off of fraud, they stop payments for 18 months to everybody, 18 months. And then they did a moratorium where new providers couldn't come in. So that's a false number. It's a very false number. Getting these indictments, in my opinion, is nothing more than a political stunt. And it's election time, by the way.
That's a good point. Gentlemen, let me tell you something. This is the first time in my show's history that we have dedicated a full portion of the show, a full what we call the A block, to a subject. This is a subject that needs this attention. I appreciate you both coming on to talk about this. You have an open platform as this case develops to let us know what's happening. It's a very, very disturbing set of allegations. But John Brewer, Dane Wood, thank you both so much for coming on.
I feel it. I feel a Democratic agenda coming on. I feel it. I feel it in my soul. A Democratic agenda coming, family.
There are people.
I'm just feeling it. I'm saying it's not conspiracy yet. It's just thought. Forward thinking. All right. Like I said, I was getting all this weird ass fucking Native American shit in my timeline today. It's weird. This one I thought was like, let's see what kind of lies they're gonna tell us. So Native American elders, if you have Native blood, your body will show these 4 signs. So let's just see. Yeah, we're gonna give everybody the big eye roll. Okay. Yeah. He'll speak for me. I don't even have Native blood. So so yeah, we'll just go out that. I don't even want to get into it. I got like 3 Native American stories that they were just as bad as the white ones. So
People watching this right now who carry something inside them they were never told about. Something old, something that came down through the blood. 4 generations, 5, 6, quiet the whole way, waiting. And I want to say this plainly because I am.
They're always talking about us with the O blood. So with the O's, they're always talking about us having the greatest blood on the planet. You know what I mean? With the O's and with the universal saviors. You know what I mean? Real shit.
Too old to say it any other way. If you have Native blood in you, even a thread of it, even a thread your family hid and never spoke of, your body will begin to show it after 60. Not before, for most people. After. Because when the noise of working and raising and proving yourself finally quiets down, the old blood gets loud enough to hear. There are 4 signs, 4 things the body does when it carries the old blood into the last zone at 70, wondering why they have felt like a stranger their whole life. You were not built wrong. You were built for an older world of not knowing. Most people who carry these signs spend their whole lives believing something is wrong with them. They medicate it. They apologize for it. They grow old, certain they were built wrong. And the truth was never that. You were not built wrong. You were built for an older world, and nobody ever told you. A woman wrote to me not long ago and said she had spent 68 years thinking she was broken. And it took her one evening by a fire to understand that she never was. 68 years. That is the cost. So stay with me. And when we are done, say something in the comments, even a few words, so the next person who finds this, some man or woman sitting alone at 70, wondering why they have felt like a stranger their whole life, will know somebody was here before them. Let me tell you what I see. I see people in their 60s and 70s who feel this, and something in you says, get ready, and you have nothing to get ready for. The whole time. The second sign. After 60, she had felt out of place her entire life. She loved silence when everyone around her loved noise. She loved the woods when everyone loved the shopping mall. She grieved for animals like they were kin, and she felt every season change in her body days before the calendar caught up. At 67, a family search turned up what nobody had ever told her. Native blood, a great-great-grandmother from a tribe she had never even heard of. And when she found out, she did not feel surprise. She felt relief. She said, it was not that I did not belong in the world. It was that I belonged to an older one, and I was living in the wrong one the whole time.
Oh my God. Okay, we gotta go past it because this is babble. Like, Lord have mercy. I was like, get to the point. So what was it? Nothing. Like, basically, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, so you did a DNA test and you found out you had native blood. I was like, whoop-de-doo, right? I was trying to figure out what to use that one.
Check out the Denver Socialists deleted post. So they held an
this little broad is like a major little Republican. Just some casual reporting in Denver. I guess one day I was listening to some like the Nate something something with the F. His last name starts with F reports, and I guess I came across this little Karen right here. She's had like maybe I'd say 3 little episodes that I found kind of interesting to use, so I put them in my RVA. So I think I've covered her about 3, maybe 4 times. Don't quote me on that, like maybe 4 times. A lot of things I don't like about these little young little conservative Republican types. They kind of try to hide it, you know what I mean? This one, not so much. She makes it very clear, in so many ways, her distaste for a lot of things, and you know she is kind of she has racist moments, racist tendencies. That's what I say. So I don't watch her enough to really scrutinize it, but I can hear it. You know what I mean? I can spot it. So the Denver socialist groups are making their way through the Denver elections, Denver campaigns. I got cotton mouth like a motherfucker. So yeah, it's been kind of like a move like a little wave, I guess you want to say, amongst the Democrats and the Democratic Socialists. So I haven't paid attention, and it's kind of like really not talking about Republicans or conservatives as much as they're talking about them.
An event in person, they still usually do them on Zoom as if we're in the year 2020, but people noticed that majority of their audience had on masks, even though it's no longer a requirement. And also, this is a group that probably likely has around 3 vaccines. So it really doesn't make any sense, but it gets better because on their Instagram, they still have up a few pictures. Here you can see from a different angle, these people are either very afraid of getting sickness, or they are trying to hide their identity because they're embarrassed of being members of this really bad organization. But the funniest part about all of this is that the speaker is wearing a mask, even though he is more than 6 feet away from his audience. I guess he believes that his microphone could get him sick. And also you have this guy who is wearing a mask as he is working on his computer because maybe he thinks that his computer could have a virus. Ha 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 ha. And yeah, so this is just absolutely ridiculous. But guys, the comments are so funny. This person says they forgot to put on their chemical protection suits. Another person says, nice masks, pure comedy. People are saying, why are they wearing masks? So many are masking. But maybe the real reason why they were wearing masks is because the room could have smelled very bad. And you may think that I'm making a joke about that, but when you click on the links on their website of these Denver Democratic Socialists, they actually have an entire list of stores and products that you cannot buy. So let's go ahead and figure out if deodorant is on the list. So they say that you're not allowed to buy anything that is Israeli, apparently. Like avocados, dates, potatoes, oranges. I mean, wow. So strict. What a horrible group. I would put on a mask too. I would be so embarrassed if I was there. And they also make it so you're not allowed to buy from certain brands, and like it's just so strict. Oh, so this was them celebrating Melit's win. So she is a socialist, and you would think that on their Instagram page you would have more people celebrating, but you have people saying brought to you by China, paid for by George Soros. So it's just pretty awesome to see everybody, and I mean everybody, even across social media platforms, clowning on the Denver Socialists of America. I love the fact that it's the Denver one specifically because they are just so unhinged. But all across America, these socialists, communists, they're just unhinged and they're liars. Here you have just recently, they posted another terrifying day in socialist, communist Afghanistan, apparently. And then they show what appears to be a really nice park. Check it out. The clip goes on for a while, and you can see that they're trying to show that the ground looks clean. There's no criminals. There's no people on drugs. What they're really trying to make it look like is a park in Poland where moms can go with their strollers and their young kids outside and feel safe. But actually, this is a complete lie because they're trying to make it seem like this is a public park. This is what normal New York looks like, when that is unfortunately false. It is incredibly scary. I was paying $100 to take an Uber because the subways were just dangerous and gross and scary looking. And so this is false. You have Spencer Pratt, who has been doing great work, by the way. He says communists use videos from a privately run park with private security. So not even anybody is allowed in there, paid for by private vendors, again, capitalism, and claim it as a victory of socialists. I can't tell if they're really this dumb or they just think You are. Wow, that's really just so insulting to our intelligence. Honestly, I would be insulted if I was a part of the Denver Socialists or whatever, and they're telling me which products and which fruits I should buy, as if I'm not intelligent enough to make my own decisions about what companies I want to support. So just truly, they are a very controlling group. By the way, would you please triple check that you are subscribed to my channel? Then you have people like Rashida Tlaib going out and giving speeches like this.
Look at this room,
Look at this room.
motherfuckers. Look at this room, motherfuckers. We ain't going anywhere. Political structures that I have to work in, that we all are surrounded by, was built on slavery and genocide and rape and oppression.
You know, where is her mask? Does she not know that her microphone could get some type of virus in her, even though she already has the woke mind virus? It's actually funny that all of these people are scared of getting a virus when they all...
She said, the woke mind virus. I guess we had the virus, family. That they didn't even know what it meant. They used it for they perversed that word, amongst others that, you know, might as well throw it out there as freebies. Jesus.
Already have the woke mind virus to the highest degrees and TDS. Like, they should get help from that. It's funny because this post reminds me of this. Redditors decided to meet up in real life, and this is what it looks like. It's basically the same thing. These socialists just want some type of community, and like that's how they look like when they get together. They have their little furry groups, their socialist groups, and they're so passionate about it. We need to be as passionate about saving this country as Trantifa people are about destroying it.
Mr. Knighter, we are doing trans jihad, and this is something everybody can actually kind of partake in a little.
Okay, wait. I'm sorry, guys. Take a step back for a second. This is Andy No. He has been reporting for a long time, a great investigative journalism, True Investigations. And I believe he did a lot of work in Portland. So here he was sharing this video of a trans X campaign staffer for Wisconsin Democratic congressional candidate, that person. Wow, this person should stay far away from politics. By the way, when you go to the Denver DSA website, they have all kinds of events. Most of them are on Zoom because they're so afraid. They're so afraid. Ah, my mic is going to get me. Ah, my computer. Ah, I'm so scared. They already have the woke mind virus. These people, they hold events for everything. They have book clubs where they're teaching people about anti-imperialism. These groups hold events teaching socialists how to run for office.
That's true.
So these groups, these Trantifa furry groups, not only are they violent and they're instructed to go out and do these protests outside of places like Christian cafes.
That's the only way. That's the only reason old girl got in. That chick that over here in Denver, can't say her name right. That's the only reason she got in, is because she had that amount of people doing the work for her. She wouldn't have got in like that, just like that, on the first time. And let's be realistic. She had them really back. Like, they're the ones with the numbers. They're the ones with the numbers with on the phones, on the emails, on these little protests. They're the ones with the paid agitation. You know what I mean? I went over this a couple of times. You know, we was talking about all the Karens and shit being outside and having students out there that nobody signed paperwork for. So, you know, bullying old white men that are on the same grievance as them. Yeah, so they're the ones with all the numbers. They're the ones with all the people behind her. That's what she's giving off a speech of how many people did this and how many people did that. And it was like thousands. Yeah, it's because this particular thing that she's talking about, the socialists, Democratic socialists, whatever, they're the ones with all the motherfucking people in numbers. You know what I mean? Yes, they're the ones that get behind certain candidates that they want to later on, you know, put in office and milk for their own agendas. You'll see. If you haven't seen it yet, I can't even bring it up who had them behind them, you know what I mean? But this is the first time where it's like right there in your face, and you can actually see it happening. Like people with them behind them have already have already advanced a little bit to where now they're gonna they got the election coming up in November to solidify it, and with that and a motherfucking an endorsement from fucking Madami or Bernie Sanders or AOC, that's pretty much walks you right in the motherfucking door. That's how they got it. That's how that happened. It wasn't off of like her own work ethic. They like, come on, man, really, like, be so serious. She might have got a nice little number of votes on her own or whatever, or through Democrats. But that's even reaching there. She might have got a nice little number, nice juicy little number. Yeah, I'm not gonna take it away from her. Nice juicy little number. But the way she took it, or the way it's been portrayed as, you got to know it's these people right behind her that this lady's talking about that really pushed it. Like, I mean, shoved it over the fucking rails.
But they're also getting really political. This guy who's involved in politics is calling for trans terrorism and mass blankings of conservatives, and that went viral. Great job to Andy No for exposing this. I don't know what is with this person.
Just a reminder, we are doing trans jihad, and this is something everybody can actually kind of partake in a little bit here because it's about making the oppressor, the bigot.
So when I'm talking about trans people, right, I'm the asshole, right? But you see, I'm not the only confused motherfucker, right? Dare I say that? But I'm the one that's an asshole, right? I'm the villain because I'm the one that says it, right? But they, let's say it. You see where I'm going with this, family? You know what I mean? I'm the one that gets told all kinds of shit. She's like, I don't know what's happening with this person right here. I don't know what's happening. I mean, I can't tell. I don't know if it's trying to be a girl or she's trying to be a guy. Like, you think? Where I'm like, that's clearly a fucking man with makeup on, cuz it's just confusing. And he's looking, trying to be, I don't know what, but it's clearly, this has got to be some sort of agenda right here. It's clearly, I mean, it's not, not beside me, but I'm the asshole every fucking Monday.
The animals that make up MAGA, for example, right? We've had to be the ones that walk down the streets with anxiety, with fear, but no more. No more, folks. We're gonna do the reverse.
This is independent journalist Andy No unmasking this.
I'm like, man, put some clothes on. There's no reason for you to be trying to vest up with your thighs out.
Trantifa. So a couple of days ago, I posted this video of this trans militant who's calling for trans violence, trans terrorism, trans jihad. What makes this man noteworthy is that he worked on the campaign of the Democrat congressional candidate for the state of Wisconsin named Katrina DeVille. Now, nobody was able to find out who this man really is. And just like preferred pronouns, their preferred names are fake. And if you've been following my reporting, you'll know that I never settle for preferred names and aliases. His real name, and I did some digging, is Warren Wendell Johnson. He's 27 years old. He was born in February 1999, and he lives in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And he works as a left-wing trans influencer as well as a political activist in the Democrat Party. So you saw and heard it here first. Subscribe to my X account to support my work, and or subscribe on ngocomment.com.
Yeah, so definitely subscribe to Andy No. He truly does do phenomenal work. I mean, even just finding that guy's real name could have taken him hours. And on top of that, it is dangerous work exposing these people. You see that these Antifa type groups, they're actually militarily trained. And when I went to the No Kings protests, they have these booths for the communists. And then right next to it, they have these people who teach them how to shoot guns. And so it's like a little bit not right. correct? I mean, we've seen what the violent left is capable of. So Andy No also exposes another similar person, a trans Portland Antifa member with links.
What's considered the violent left? Karen, whatever, Angela, what is considered the violent left?
To an armed Trantifa cell has been posting about casting occult blood curses on me. So guys, keep Andy in your prayers so that he can be safe. These people are very unhinged and they try to attack people from every angle possible. And it is unfortunate. And it is unfortunate that they have these groups then that give them backing, and they do it in these massive mobs. And so it's like literally one person against this group of Trantifa members, and that's very scary. So just a lot of unfortunate things that are happening in the country right now as they're trying to destroy us from within. Like, why, for example, does this woman say that her dead mother has been voting?
So I just left the polls. I came in to vote in the primaries here in Waterville, and as they were checking my eligibility by not checking my eligibility, just by looking at the books, I noticed that my mom's name is still on the voter rolls. Now, my mom passed away in 2022, so it's been 4 years since she's gone. Her name's still on the voter rolls. I brought it up to 3 different poll workers there. They all told me I needed to bring it up with somebody else. So on my way out, our lovely Janet Mills was standing outside greeting people. So I walked up to her and I said, can you explain to me why my mother's name is still on the voter rolls, even though she's been dead 4 years? And she laughed. She hit my arm, ha, 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 and fucking laughed. I said, Janet, why do you think this is funny? You preach about voter integrity and transparency, but my mother's name is still on the voter rolls.
I think
almost 5 years after she passed.
You should take that to the DMV, really. Ultimately, that's where you go get your ID. Like, I can't speak to all DMVs. Let's just speak to the one I know about here in the city, right? You go to do your ID, right, or your driver's license. You get it all there. You take your little picture. You do your little thumbprint. You write your little name right there, right? They ask you a couple questions. Make sure it's you. They sign off on it. You pay a little $3, $3 or $15, whatever it is. Probably went up since then, right? And it gives you a date when you come and have to, it expires or whatever. It's like every couple. It's like for me, it's like every 4 years on my birthday, right? Right? It asks you, maybe you're an organ donor. Okay, so a little organ donor things like organ donor, yes, right? I ask you if you're a registered voter. It says yes, because as you're doing your little IDs, driver's license, little paperwork, so they can call your little name up. So you go right there and turn it all in and take your new little picture and shit. It asks you got a fucking form to fill out. You don't have to fill it out, but a form that's like kind of option to fill out. That's not a word, optionary. To register to vote, and then based on your address where you register, your polling place will show up, right? Simple as that. So, when you register, that's a DMV thing. You gotta take your motherfucking ass. The DMV just does not just do driver's license IDs in titles. Okay. Bill of sales. There's a lot of things the DMV does aside from that. So, and that would probably be one of those things that you take in there with your mother's death certificate, her last piece of mail, and if you have an ID, an old one of her, and something else is a verifier, like, her maiden name or some shit, prove that you're kin. I'm pretty sure it's a real easy off the voter roll she goes. You know what I mean? Also, another thing, when somebody else dies, make sure you have to cover all your bases so you don't keep receiving their mail or anything else, especially like a ballot at her address. She's been gone for 4 years, so not brand new. You know what I mean? Surely she has a house, and surely you've gotten more than one ballot. That's like, you know what I mean? Then I ask you the right question. I ask you the right question. They're directing the right traffic.
So really, I could come back here in a couple of hours, walk in and say, I'm my mother, and vote again.
I hope it's not like that.
And this mother, she hit my arm again and laughed like I was joking, like it's a big fucking joke.
That is so weird that, first of all, that she would be there. And then second of all, that when she points it out, they tell her that she has to go speak to somebody else, basically, or that there's really nothing they can do. And then on top of that, laughing about it as if everybody knows, or ha ha ha, like, how can you, I don't know. What is funny about that? I truly would like to know as well. Let's see what people are saying. You have Libs of TikTok posted the source. They're the one who brought this video to X. Gunther says, didn't the Democrats tell us this never happens? Why, when I die, don't let me vote Democrat. When politicians, judges, police, and media are all corrupt, who's going to stop them? I bet Arizona and California both still have me registered and voting there. I'd hate to find out. Truly is just scary. I think the whole mail-in ballot thing just got completely out of hand. And we know there's proof that Democrats overwhelmingly vote by mail-in. They don't even want to show their identity in an event with people that agree with them politically and everything. And so they also don't want to show up to vote either. It should be mandatory. It's really not a whole lot to ask to show up one day. These people can show up to these socialist events. If they want to vote blue, then I don't understand why they can't show up to vote and show their face to their vote at the very least. I do believe that passing the SAVE Act is one of the most important things. So check this out. A woman had her first interaction with a Trump supporter, says Clown World, and was surprised when he held the door open for her and called her sweetie. Why would she be surprised by this when conservatives are some of the sweetest, kindest people in the world?
So I'm at the gas station. No biggie, right? So I just had my first interaction with a red hat, right? A red hat. So I'm going in there. I want to get me a little brownie or something before I start my shift. And he held the door open for me. And I was like, oh, thank you. And he was like, no problem, sweetie. It's like, you guys are actually nice. Like, I thought you hated us. Like, you're nice people. You actually believe in chivalry.
This is one-off. This is like the canary in the motherfucking in the mine. Like, it's like a very one-off. Don't get it twisted. He's still a racist at the end of the day. Watch, this is a matter of wit. Okay, let's not get excited. Just grab your motherfucking brownie and head up to work, because it's like a one-off. He's probably feeling mad great this morning when he did that. You know what I mean? You see, she's like this is the kind of shit you can't celebrate a moment like whatever moment that is for you amongst these types that are over there with the side eyeing and shit, because they think, why would you fear such a thing, not knowing that like almost 89% of them are the ones killing us on a regular basis. They'll just think that that's lies. So you can't celebrate shit. Yeah, they'll be like, what? No, it's the opposite. We're being oppressed. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, right. So yeah. Moving along. I'm glad we got a little bit out of that. Denver socialists. Yeah, I don't know what's up with them. With the masks and shit. I know that I like wearing masks, but until all the surveillance and shit happened, I was like, I just wear it. If I do wear it, I'm supposed to be wearing it on the bus and amongst other people, because everybody got germs that'll make me sick. So, a legitimate reason I should. Let's see what this is about. Let's skip ahead. Yeah, I'm glad we watched that. They are everywhere. And they're only teaching Democratic talking points. They're not teaching they want to know where people are, like if they're like on that side. of free this, free that, or whatever, whatever their stance is about that on the day. But I don't like paid agitation and shit like that. That's what we were seeing a lot of. I don't know.
Here's announced policy of January 3rd, 2025. The chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey, Ms. Mejia, for 30 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous materials on the subject of this special order.
Without objection.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today as the proud co-chair of the House Democratic Caucus's Defend the 14th Amendment Task Force. This month, we mark the 158th anniversary of one of the most important amendments ever added to our Constitution. Forged in the aftermath of the Civil War and paid for by the blood, sweat, and tears of Black freedom fighters and their allies, the 14th Amendment declared that every person born in these United States is anointed with inalienable rights and responsibilities, never to be infringed upon by the actions of any state or entity. Together with the 13th and 15th Amendments, it marked what historians call the second founding of our nation, an effort to build a democracy that truly includes everyone. But history reminds us that writing rights into our Constitution is only the beginning. For decades after Reconstruction, millions of Black Americans were denied those very rights through segregation, voter suppression, and racial violence. The Constitution had not changed. What changed was whether or not our country chose to enforce it. It took generations of organizing and sacrifice before Congress passed the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and began making good on the promise that existed for nearly a century. That history matters because it teaches us an important lesson. Constitutional rights do not appear or disappear overnight. They are built or weakened piece by piece, action by action. Court decisions, legislation, political rhetoric, actions that slowly erode the institutions designed to protect our democracy. Viewed in isolation, the current challenges to birthright citizenship, due process, equal protection, and the freedom to vote may seem like isolated political actions, but viewed together, it becomes crystal clear that our Constitution and the promise of our second founding is under attack. What's more, it is clear that it is our duty as true patriots to combat it. That is why House Democrats created the Defend the 14th Amendment Task Force. Our mission is simple: defend the constitutional rights that generations of Americans fought to secure. Our rights are not guaranteed.
They got the little light skin brought up there to do this instead of old boy right next to her, right? So it'd be like, like palatable? You know what I mean? You see him keep shifting around, like you clearly see the uncomfortability of this brother right here, right? Look, watch. He's like whispering something to her. Look.
Constitutional rights do not appear or disappear overnight. They are built or weakened piece by piece, action by action. Court decisions, legislation, political rhetoric, actions that slowly erode the institutions designed to protect our democracy.
Hey now.
Viewed in isolation, the current challenges to birthright citizenship, due process, equal protection, and the freedom to vote may seem like isolated political actions, but viewed together, it becomes crystal clear that our Constitution and the promise of our second founding is under attack. What's more, it is clear that it is our duty as true patriots to combat it. That is why House Democrats created the Defend the 14th Amendment Task Force. Our mission is simple: defend the constitutional rights that generations of Americans fought to secure. Our rights are not guaranteed simply because they're written down. They endure because people defend them. The generations before us marched, organized, and sacrificed to make the promises of the 14th Amendment real. They understood that democracy requires participation, accountability, and constant vigilance. Now that responsibility belongs to us. Every generation faces a defining test. For generations that ratified the 14th Amendment, it was whether America would finally recognize citizenship and the humanity of those who had been enslaved. For the generations that marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, it was whether every American would have an equal voice at the ballot box. Our generation faces a different question. Will we preserve those constitutional guarantees for the generations that follow? As long as I have the privilege of serving in this House, I will continue fighting to protect that promise for every family, every community, and every generation to come. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is only as strong as our willingness to defend it. And with that, I am glad to yield 4 minutes to my fellow co-chair from the great state of Missouri. Forgive me, the great state of Missouri for 4 minutes.
See?
Mr. Cleaver.
He like, I gotta follow this shit up. The guy walked over there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Speaker, I rise today as the proud co-chair of the 14th Amendment Task Force because I believe in one simple truth. The 14th Amendment is now under siege. For more than 150 years, this amendment has stood as one of the greatest promises our nation has ever made, that every person born in this country is entitled to equal protection under the law, and that no government may deny anyone due process simply because of who they are or where they were an immigrant from. It was born from one of the darkest chapters in American history. After slavery ended, our nation faced a choice. We could preserve injustice under a different name, or we could expand the promise of freedom. The 14th Amendment was our answer. It declared boldly that citizenship could not be rationed, that equality could not be optional, and that liberty belonged to all of us. But today, that promise is being tested. This administration has made no secret of its willingness to chip away at the constitutional protections generations of Americans have fought, marched, bled, and even died to secure. They are using every tool at their disposal to weaken the very rights that safeguard us all. For me, this fight is deeply personal. I was born in the Jim Crow South, a little place called Waxahachie, Texas. I came of age in a nation where equal protection existed only on paper, long before it existed in practice. I marched with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference starting when I was 15 years old. The SCLC was led by a young preacher by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. And I marched because I believed America could become what it claimed to be. I believed that the Constitution should protect every citizen equally. I witnessed firsthand what happened when governments decide some people deserve fewer rights than others. The progress we celebrate today did not happen by accident. It happened because brave Americans demanded that the 14th Amendment finally be honored. It was the Equal Protection Clause that became the constitutional foundation for Brown versus Board of Education, ending legally sanctioned segregation in our public schools. It was the 14th Amendment that strengthened the fight against discriminatory voting laws, housing discrimination, and unequal treatment in employment. It was the 14th Amendment that has protected interracial marriage, expanded equality for women, safeguarded the rights of people with disabilities, and affirmed the dignity of LGBTQ Americans. Time and time again,
oh my God,
when our nation has taken a step toward justice, it has done so because someone stood up and insisted that the words of the 14th Amendment actually meant what they say. That's why attack of any kind on equal protection and due process are not isolated legal disputes. They are attacks on the very foundation of modern civil rights. They are attacks on the constitutional principle that tell every child they matter before the law. They are the attacks on the guarantees that protect workers from exploitation, families from discrimination, religious liberty, voting rights, and the simple expectation that government must treat people fairly. When government weakens these protections for one group, it weakens them for everyone. History teaches us that constitutional rights are rarely lost all at once. They're chipped away slowly. One exception, one excuse, one precedent at a time, until Americans wake up and discover that what once seemed guaranteed has quietly disappeared. We cannot allow this to happen. Our constituents know what is at stake. They understand that the promise of America has been bigger than politics. They know that the Constitution belongs to every American, not just those in power. So as the co-chair of the 14th Amendment Task Force, I stand with my colleagues in defense of one of the most important guarantees ever written into our Constitution. We will defend equal protection. We will defend due process. We will defend, yes, birthright citizenship. And we will continue fighting until the promise of the 14th Amendment is not merely something we celebrate in history books, but something that every American can experience in their daily lives. The struggle to perfect our union has never been easy, but every generation is called to protect the freedoms it inherited. Now it's our turn. I yield back.
Mr. Speaker, it is my honor to yield the floor for 4 minutes to my fellow co-chair from the great state of Washington, Ms. Randall.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker and Congresswoman Mejia, for your leadership. The 14th Amendment means what it says. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Those are the words on paper. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller attempted to rewrite the Constitution through an executive order banning birthright citizenship for the children of undocumented immigrants. The same legal arguments that were first used when a white supremacist wanted to deny US citizenship to Chinese Americans. 4 Supreme Court justices dissented in the ruling to protect the 14th Amendment. That tells us that we are not safe from these continuous attacks from Donald Trump and his administration.
Stop right there. Like, I'm old enough to have seen people coming to the country pregnant just to have a baby here in the United States and raise a kid, and then look. Okay, you don't believe me? Fuck it. All right, fine. Look at all the ICE immigration shit that's happening in California, right? And everywhere else, right? Just look at that, right? Where they come and get certain motherfuckers that are under the age of 30 or whatever, right? Come get them. And their first thing they're worried about is their mother and father who has not got their shit together, right? In 30 years, ever. Look what happened over here with some of the TPS people, right? They're upset. They've been here 30 motherfucking years and still haven't got their shit together. When there's all kinds of immigration lawyers and there's all kinds of ways you can get through the process. Right? It doesn't have to take 30 years. Could take like 10, but still, right? You should have documentation saying you're actually doing the process. These are people that still don't even have that. And yet their children went to school, graduated, went to college, got good ass jobs, and now has to watch their parents get deported or go back or whatever. You know what I mean? And all the fucking anchor babies like, oh my God. When they were watching the first time, their family get deported. You know what I mean? And they were allowed to stay for what? Because they were born here, right? With nobody here, with nobody to take care of them, right? And that's the DACA kid shit. All right, so I'm old enough to watch people migrate over here and either marry somebody for a green card, have tourist, what they call tourism babies, or babies right when they come into the country. You know what I mean? And they start getting the benefit of all the services that would come with taking care of a baby. Okay, and look, I was a young mother too at one point in time, and I had to take the services, right? That I'm a natural born United States citizen. I was born of the soil. See what I'm saying? Californian born. I was born of the fucking United States soil. So everything I've had here in the United States. Every service I've ever taken or used or whatever I've had here as a United States citizen. Okay. I myself am a ward of the state. So was a ward of the state. I'm a grown ass adult now, but you see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. I still could go to jail and it still be property of the state of Colorado. Okay? Just for as long as they want me there. Just like school, just like anything else, right? So, but I was born here. My family was born here. Or not here in Colorado, but here in the United States. See what I'm saying? So that's I didn't come, like, you know what I'm saying? But the people that have children, even on this last little round of immigration, people were coming over here hella motherfucking knocked up. And being able to have a baby and then be able to get all the services and assistance that is available for parents. Or even like, look, we as Black people cannot have our children outside without schooling or housing, right? Without a roof over their head and schooling, right? These people are having their children out for like 3 months with no housing, just moving around the city, right? And they still could keep their 2-3 children plus whatever the mother's carrying, because there's a lot of pregnant people coming to city council, pregnant migrants. You know, you see what I'm saying? Brand new babies coming into the world. Great, fine, whatever. But this was not meant for that. You see what I'm saying? And the abuse of that is been prevalent. Like it's one thing if you're over here, you came and you've been. It's like you came, you've been working on your shit. You know, you got a little regular little job, whatever. You got to support whatever you got to support yourself, whatever, your little family, whatever. And then in that time, you know what I mean? It's a whole separate situation. It's like this is they seem to forget that this is just meant for the children of slaves, right? And he was mentioning how important it was, but at the same time, he would have fallen under that, somewhere with that, or his people would have. See what I'm saying? Like, they would have fallen under that. This is going to be turned into, like, that's automatically turned into a black and brown thing again. You know what I mean?
On our Constitution, on our freedom, on our neighbors. We know that the White House is currently scheming to have Trump's activist Supreme Court rehear the case that upheld the 14th Amendment, that upheld birthright citizenship. This is all part of a larger agenda to dehumanize Black and brown people in this country, to strip away their rights and to normalize questioning who belongs here.
The brother don't
Who is American enough?
Brainwashed.
It's why Republicans have funded Donald Trump's immigration agenda by $200 billion, and why, on the 158th anniversary of the 14th Amendment, my colleagues and I launched the Defend the 14th Amendment Task Force. Our goal is simple: to defend the Constitution, to coordinate oversight and public education efforts, and to respond strongly to the Trump administration's attacks on our rights, on our freedom, on our Constitution, our country, and our communities. We will stand up to these attacks on civil liberties. We must continue this fight to ensure that the citizens of the United States are protected and that nothing erodes these constitutional protections. It's our duty, it's our responsibility, and it's the oath we swore when we took this public office. I'm so proud to be a co-chair of this task force, and so proud to stand here in defense of our Constitution. With that, I yield back.
I was so perturbed late.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Chair Aguilar and my fellow co-chairs, Representative Cleaver, Randall, Simon, and Subramanian, for their leadership in launching the Defend the 14th Task Force. This work is about protecting the Constitution's promise that every person deserves equal protection, due process, and the full rights of citizenship. Those principles have shaped generations of progress in our country, and they are worth defending today, just as they were 158 years ago. We owe it to those who came before us and those who will follow us to ensure that that promise endures. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the remaining time.
You see, that ain't going nowhere. I was hoping the brother was going to do something, but you know, it's always wishful thinking. Of course he wasn't.
The United States has never been a fan of the International Criminal Court, and the ICC is under a lot of criticism right now and pressure. The US has sanctioned its judges, but now it wants to completely wipe out this court, the rules on important things like genocide. The Trump administration wants it dismantled, brick by brick, if necessary, according to Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Halfway across the world, there's an institution that calls itself the International Criminal Court. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. But chances are you don't know the names of its judges, of its prosecutors, or its president. And you shouldn't have to. But as we speak, the ICC and its friends are waging a war against our country, not with bullets or missiles, but with statutes, and compacts, and the force of so-called international law.
Well, here's someone who could name all of its judges. Alex Whiting, he joins me from Harvard Law School. He actually worked at the ICC, so he can give us firsthand knowledge of the court's workings, failings, and...
You brought it up, Marco Rubio. I think I'm going to go look into it, just because.
successes. But first of all, what's this war that Rubio is referring to?
In his brain.
Well, thank you for having me. And the war that he's talking about is really invented and is a fabrication and a demonization of the court. The court is.
What I'm talking about, he's living in a world of pure, utter imagination, according to this guy, in a fantasy fiction mindset. It's basically what he's saying about Rubio. That's what I just said. And I didn't say it was not true. It's to say, Rubio really we're gonna take advice from Rubio.
It's been in existence since 2002. So for 24
all things, right? Of all people.
4 years, it has not once sought to prosecute an American It hasn't even come close to that. And currently, there's no indication that there are any investigations of Americans or attempts to prosecute Americans. There's no war by the court against the United States.
And why does Rubio call it so-called international law? I mean, is there such a thing as international law and so-called international law?
Well, no, there is international law, but this administration, from the president on down, has no kind of respect or regard for international law. The president famously said he doesn't really believe in international law. Marco Rubio has fallen into line here, calling it so-called international law. International law is an important, is real law that exists, that allows the world to function. The United States often benefits from, as do all countries, from international law to regulate dealings between nations and to resolve problems and address global world issues. So the attack on the International Criminal Court is in keeping with this administration's complete disregard for international law.
And to take this a step further, in the Wall Street Journal, Rubio wrote, the ICC is backed and run by a powerful network of leftist non-government organizations, smug globalists, and hostile third world governments united by their enmity towards the US. I find this whole framing really interesting. This the global left is out to get the right, and they're the enemy, and they're attacking us. What do you think of the framing?
I think it's fantastic.
I think they'll say anything that'll fucking be as a fucking deflection to whatever. You know, they'll say anything. Like, the man in charge will say anything. You know, we're doing great, we're not doing great. All this stuff that's happening, you know what I mean? Of course they're not gonna acknowledge international law when they've committed so many atrocities within the international framework, you know, the international border system. I mean, I'm sure we just looked at Maduro's situation, the in and out, you know, I'm pretty sure that right there alone violates several rules of engagement and international law on several fronts. You know what I mean? You know, try to dominate and take over everybody's country. I'm sure that violates all sorts of international law. Him threatening, making these weird, erratic, fucking unrationalized threats that have a little bit of follow through. I'm sure that violates international law. Of course, they want to act like that it doesn't exist, and that they can't be held to a certain, that the laws can't be enforced, which is really showing them that they kind of can't get away with a lot of shit. Nobody's enforcing that. They're not being punished. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. Yep. Right. That's good. That's right. Very good points. They just now they don't want to take their ass outside and vote, right? So we can't take their they're not gonna take their booties to the poll. Oh gee, like we're gonna really miss like 2 tethers not making it to vote. I think not. You know what I mean? I could care less. But of course, the administration's violating and not giving a damn about international law. The problem is that no one's enforcing the charges. Nobody's holding them account. You know what I mean? And what's the point of having it if you're not gonna be held accountable? You know what I mean? Even he knows what he's saying is bullshit.
Fantastical, and I feel like, you know, he's trying to create a world of boogeymen and monsters and so forth. But it has nothing to do with reality. The court is not controlled by external forces. It has no political agenda. I worked at the court for several years. I know, as you mentioned, I know the judges there, the prosecutors. They're all serious, professional lawyers who are committed to international law and committed to achieving accountability for serious international crimes like genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes. The United States has, throughout history, from Nuremberg through the ad hoc tribunals, through the creation of the International Criminal Court, has been committed to this mission of accountability for these grave international crimes. And in fact, the irony is that in its 24 years of existence, the United States has, of the International Criminal Court's existence, the United States has often turned to the court to seek accountability for crimes in Darfur, in Libya, most recently in Ukraine. And that was both Democratic administrations and Republican administrations.
But nobody's holding them in here, in the United States, accountable. That's other countries. It's like, haha, yeah, we're telling you this is what's going to happen to you, and you, and you. But nobody's saying, oh, yeah, fucker, what about you? Don't you think you need to go up? You need to see the board. You know what I mean? I think you need that judicial fucking punishment. Like everybody's afraid to do that. You know what I mean? And when it does, it doesn't hold enough water. Like they didn't have their shit together. You know what I mean?
The International Criminal Court has been important for the United States. And so for now, the exaggeration is kind of a giveaway because it is so that the picture that he paints is so exaggerated that you can feel that there's really nothing there.
You say the ICC has no political agenda, but it does need to be politically selective. It can't just take on all cases, can it?
That's right. It does have to be selective because it has limited powers and limited resources. I wouldn't say it's politically selective. It's not choosing to prosecute, people, the countries or citizens it doesn't like and protecting those it likes. It chooses its cases strategically, chooses the most grave, tries to go after the most grave crimes, also tends to go towards cases that it's going to be able to prosecute, where it can get access to the evidence and it can succeed in its cases. It hasn't always succeeded. You mentioned that there's been criticism of the court, and some of that criticism is well justified, but it's not political in the choices it makes. It's you could say strategic.
Why so many African nations and African cases then? Some people say it's a neo-colonial tool that's used disproportionately against African nations.
Yes, this has been a criticism of the court, especially in the early years, because as you say, many of the cases focus on Africa. That was largely because most of those cases were referred to the court by the countries in Africa that were involved, and the court, and there were serious crimes being committed in Uganda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mali, Kenya, elsewhere, and so the court gravitated towards those countries. This was not because of a neo-colonial agenda. This was out of a concern for victims in those countries who were being victimized by these grave crimes. And the court has now, it has brought cases in other parts of the world. Currently has a case against Rodrigo Duterte, the former president of the Philippines. It has, of course, brought arrest warrants in Ukraine and also in the Palestine case. So that was an early criticism. I don't think it was justified, and it's been overtaken now by events.
Another criticism is that the court lacks universal jurisdiction. I mean, how's it meant to help victims in non-member states like Syria, for example, or North Korea?
Yeah, well, that's a fair criticism of the court. There are 125 states that are members of the court, but that leaves out a number of some big countries and some important countries and some countries where crimes are being committed. When the court was created, universal jurisdiction was debated and considered, but the states chose to limit the jurisdiction to crimes committed on the territory or by a national of a state party. I think that if there were universal jurisdiction right now, actually, there would be even more criticism of the court because there would be people criticizing the court for overreaching. The court is often in a position where no matter what it does, it makes somebody unhappy and somebody will criticize it. But its mission, it has a difficult mission. It has inherited this mission from the prior international criminal courts. It is now the international criminal court for the world. And it just tries to do its mission and tries to succeed at its mission, which is not easy.
Well, it doesn't sound easy. I mean, it relies entirely on member states to execute arrest warrants and gather evidence. And I'm sure the US wouldn't be all that cooperative when it came to, say, Trump's crackdown on drug smugglers and targeting boats in international waters.
That's correct. The International Criminal Court does not have a police force. It relies entirely on cooperation from states, from international organizations, from civil society. And that is a challenge when it seeks to investigate a case in a country that is not cooperating with the court. And certainly in a country like the United States, that is not a member state. But this kind of ties back to your first questions, because this is why the United States is not a state party. It is not one of the 125 states parties. It has never been a party to the International Criminal Court. It would be extremely difficult and challenging for the court to investigate crimes, alleged crimes committed by US citizens because of the lack of cooperation. It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but it would be challenging. And the notion that the court is at war with the United States and that is targeting the United States, that just couldn't be further from the truth.
What about the US Constitution, though, guaranteeing Americans specific rights that don't exist in the ICC framework?
Yes, this has been one of the reasons that the United States has not joined the court, among many others. And to be fair, there are good and bad reasons why the United States hasn't joined the court. But for many years before the Trump administration, the U.S. nonetheless managed to kind of achieve an accommodation with the court. Even though it wasn't a member of the court, it found ways to support the court. It found ways to work with the court, to refer cases to the court. And of course, the world counted on the United States not to commit massive, not to itself find itself in the crosshairs of the court, because it wouldn't commit massive war crimes or crimes against humanity or genocide. So this accommodation really worked. But now, as part of its war on international...
It's like, look, I want to commit crimes. I just don't want to be accountable for it. And I don't want you to hold me accountable for it. So I'm just going to do whatever I want to do over here to whomever I want to do over there. And it's just going to be like that. And I'm going to throw an occasional biscuit your direction on a case or something. You know, so salacious, not too salacious, because I don't want it to come back on me. You know, I don't want to be too involved, because I like committing crimes and doing the most. Right? So that's why I haven't joined in. And occasionally I'll throw you a little biscuit, or, you know, tell you a little something, you know, just so that, you know, whatever. Or I'll throw some tributes, or, you know, some monetary funds in your direction, you know, but you're going to keep on struggling with 128 groups in your states or whatever that, you know, kind of keep you running. But I don't want to be scrutinized because I'm a criminal. I do criminal shit over here in the United States. That's basically how it broke down in my head. Like, intentional, like, yeah, no, I don't want to sign up for that shit. I want to continue to do crimes. That's pretty much the gist of it, right? The years are like, yeah, no, I want to commit all sorts of atrocious felonies overseas and abroad, and here, and, you know, with people from abroad. You know, I just want to. I'm a criminal. That's just what I do. And no, I'm not signing up for your shit. So 125, 128 states. Yeah, they go ahead and keep funding. Y'all just throw some here and there, just little taste here and there. Throw a little couple of dollars your direction every year. We'll call it a pack or something. You know what I mean? Just a little something, something. But I'm gonna continue to break the laws and do the most and be untouchable because I did sign up for that shit, and so it doesn't exist. It's like felonious. That's how it plays out in my head. Like that's the administration saying, yeah. That's why it's so easy to want to dismantle it because it doesn't exist to them because they're not commit crimes.
International law and its disengagement from international institutions, the Trump administration has chosen to target the International Criminal Court and demonize that court as you said, as being controlled by.
Of course he would. Like, what better way to deflect from the bullshit he's doing? You know what I mean? But by doing that, not knowing that that's just only making his claims even more salacious and want to keep people want to look at him more and more now, because he's doing that. Look, he needs to brush up on his crime wave. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. Of course, why wouldn't he be doing any of that? It would be unlike him if he didn't do anything like that. You see what I'm saying? Of course he is. It's a major deflection from all the other fuck shit he's been doing for like the last, I don't know, just last little round and the round before that and what other influential shit he's had his hands into. You know what I mean? Of course. It only makes sense.
By left-wing globalists and targeting the United States.
But what about where this is heading? Because you talk about this pattern of presidents demonizing the court, but then saying, hey, we do actually need them. Rubio now saying if they believe they can deprive us of our sovereignty, we will teach them the full meaning of American resolve. What could that mean? Could that mean military force? Would it deploy troops to the Netherlands?
No, I don't think that will happen. Though there is a statute which has been called the Hague Invasion Act because it does authorize the president to use all means necessary, which includes military force, if the court ever were to arrest and bring to the Hague a U.S. citizen. But we are so far from that scenario. That is not really what is existing today. That's not what the court is doing. But the United States can do damage to the court. There's no question about it. It has already sanctioned the prosecutor, the deputy prosecutors, and a number of judges. It is threatening to do more. It could sanction the entire court. Rubio has said that he will try to persuade countries to withdraw from the court. He may succeed with a handful of countries that are dependent on the United States that will choose to make that decision. So there's no question that the U.S. will not destroy the court. The court will survive. But it will be damaged by what the U.S. is doing.
Alex, let's just look at the press release from Rubio. It's quite interesting. You mentioned some of the measures that it wants to take. Here, this one here about urging other countries to withdraw from the ICC, to reject the ICC's purported authority to prosecute American officials and servicemen. So, they're really trying to get this diplomatic campaign rolling and get others involved. It also says here that it wants increased scrutiny of nations that refuse to reject the ICC's false authority while relying on US assistance. What would that mean? Increased scrutiny of nations? Is it going to start drawing up a list of countries it doesn't like? Is it going to hit them with tariffs?
Amongst other things.
Well, I mean, all these things are possible. And when the International Criminal Court started functioning in 2002, the George W. Bush administration, under the direction of John Bolton, who was at the State Department, threatened to do some of these same things to try to threaten countries that cooperated with the court, with USA. That they were more focused on any risk of prosecution of U.S. service members. The attack by the Trump administration seems to be more general.
You're with us or against this bullshit. How is that not like tampering? How is that not a whole bunch of other shit? Like, I'm sure there's actual words for this. Like, how is this even like meant to go on like that? You know what I mean? And he kind of right to ask all these other questions. Kind of seems. I have a thought. Let's see where this goes first.
But it's entirely possible that the government will use threats of tariffs, as you say, or cutting off financial aid or cutting off cooperation if countries don't turn against the court. This will ultimately fail because there, as I said, there are 125 countries that are members of the court. It is part of the fabric of international law. They have a strong commitment to the court, and I don't think that and ultimately I don't think that it will be worth it to the United States to break down some of its relationships and some of its interactions with allies and for this result. So I don't think that the U.S.
I don't even think that's a factor right now in this little administration. Like, they're squeezing in a lot of dirt before the end of his term. Like, a lot of dirt. Like, that's just not a little criminal wave right here. Like, they're trying to squeeze in as much as they can in his term. You know, on the premise of what advanced scenario. Like, I don't even think that's gonna happen. Like, I'm pretty positive that's not gonna happen. Like, they're trying to squeeze in a lot of dirt right here. Like, a lot. It's a lot to get accomplished in 4 motherfucking years. You know, they could drag it out. Whatever they decide to, you know, if the court decided to look into the U.S. or whatever, it could be drug out for like almost a decade, if not longer.
Will ultimately go as far as they may have threatened, and it's also, I don't think, going to work. But it will damage the court. It will make the work of the court much more difficult. There's no question. It will have consequences.
Is it making the work of the court more difficult right now? I mean, with as far as using US software goes, communicating within the court, or even getting people to work there at the court. I mean, they have sanctions out, travel restrictions. Who would want to work for the court?
Yeah, I think that it has. I think it is having all of those kind of degrading effects on the court, and it's not at the moment, you know, kind of shutting it down. The court is still has cases. It's still investigating. It's still functioning, but it does wear on the court for the reasons that you say, and also the other thing that we haven't touched on is that. What's missing is U.S. Cooperation and support for these investigations. We've been focusing on kind of the negative actions of the United States, but the U.S. has always been a major player in achieving international accountability, both by the resources it provides, the evidence, the personnel. It has been critical to the success of Nuremberg, the Yugoslavia Tribunal, the Rwanda Tribunal, the Cambodia Tribunal, the Kosovo Tribunal. And so to have the U.S. not participating and supporting this court with resources and evidence, that's also a blow to the court. That also makes it extremely difficult for the court to succeed with its cases.
And what do you make of the timing of this diplomatic campaign?
Well, that's one of the mysteries, and people that I speak to that's one of the first things they bring up is why now? Where is this coming from? Because, as I said, there is no you might understand it if the court had opened up an investigation of U.S. personnel or U.S. Military or something, but nothing like that has occurred. And so I think that this is just something that has been slowly worked on in the State Department.
And something has occurred if Rubio is making little statements like that on video.
And they decided to launch it now. But it doesn't appear to be tied to any specific investigation or event.
Could the State Department be worried about ICE agents being investigated or persecuted, even prosecuted rather?
Well, see, if they're really worried about that, then that shows that they've kind of lost touch with how this court works and how international criminal law works and what is reality. And that may be a result of the fact that the United States has disengaged from international relationships, has pulled back its contacts, has pulled back from institutions. And so there aren't people who are speaking to ICC personnel, to people in this world who would have an understanding of what's real and what's not real. What are the real risks? What are the real threats? What aren't? And so it may be that part of the reason that they have focused on these invented and fantastical risks to the United States, ICE border agents and ICE agents, is because they have withdrawn and isolated themselves from the rest of the world.
The court obviously has relevance for real cases and real people around the world. I mean, how important is it for, say, protesters in Venezuela right now or the people of Ukraine?
Yeah, that is one of that's a really good question and a really good point, because the court has the court has faced challenges. It has struggled. It has not succeeded in the way that many people hoped it would. It has had a relatively few cases. Some of those cases have failed, and part of the reason for that is its dependence on state cooperation. But the court remains an important symbol. Not just as a building, but also because it has judges and it has actual cases. It's a place of hope for victims of mass international crimes, whether they be in wherever they are in the world, wherever they occur. And so that's why I think that the world is not going to dismantle the International Criminal Court. The court is here to stay. It's part of the international system. It is going to have to weather this storm, and it will weather this storm. It will get through this.
Will it also have to change? I mean, you've called it an imperfect institution. You've worked there yourself. Is there are there a few pointers you could give the ICC tonight to improve?
Yes, it absolutely will have to improve. It will have to become more efficient. It will have to succeed better, do better work. It has succeeded at its cases. It will have to be more realistic about some of the cases that it can do and can't do. I think the court in some instances has perhaps spread itself too thin and has brought cases where it's not where there are victims, but maybe not likely to succeed. So it perhaps has to be more strategic. Mm-hmm. But the court, this is an international court that is only 24 years old. And in the creation of a judicial system or a criminal law system, that's the blink of an eye. It's going to take years and years to perfect this court and make it work better and function. And it will just have to get through those years, get through these difficult challenges, and learn and grow and become stronger. But that will take generations.
Yeah, that's a stall out. You see the stall out. That's a stall out. Speaking of courts, Oh, here's what. Holy shit,
in office. We are here today in front of Harris County District Attorney Shantir's office.
I've been over there just kind of like on the last couple RVAs been talking about it because she's been really ratchet, like really messy lately. But let's see what she's behaving today. So let's see. So the stuff that she's been like she's had to call back a couple of endorsements, showed up late to the Carmelo Anthony thing. What else? She's been kind of doing. I see her sometimes on my reels. Sometimes she'll pop up and she's addressing somebody. Somebody. She's addressing somebody. The way she's doing is kind of messy. What else? There's several other things in that sort of alignment. So let's see. See what she's talking about for a little bit.
We are here today as a community because we are here because one, we end up dropping off information that has now launched a criminal investigation into Judge Curvey, the Harris County 280 District Court, as well as Natalie Stewart, as well as Judge Geis, who's with court number 12, and also Aisha Shaheed. So we also have the direct witness who just turned in her actual affidavit, her sworn affidavit, with her application and the packet for the complaint. So what we have, we're not going to be able to discuss the logistics of the case because it is an active criminal investigation. But what we will do is just kind of give you a brief overview because we do not want to interfere with the investigation just in case it is brought to a grand jury.
Things it looks like.
So, justice is not for sale here in Harris County. We are not going to tolerate nobody that's going to try to interfere with any type of criminal case, civil case, child custody case, anything that's dealing like that here in Harris County. One, what we have, based on the criminal complaint, it fell along the lines, based on the affidavit, dealing with official oppression, abuse of official capacity, obstruction or tampering, criminal conspiracy.
Oppression.
That is what the actual eyewitness that turned in the actual complaint on today. So
just point that lady out.
When a sitting judge uses their position to interfere in another criminal case to get it dismissed, especially through an outside person who is a friend of the defendant, multiple crimes applies when it comes to that. So,
kind of want to add a little bit.
This is who we have right here. This here is what we consider the pool of corruption. As you can see, we have a mugshot here of Natalie Stewart. Then on top, we have Judge Curvey. In the middle, we have Aisha Shaheed, who is the young lady that is a defendant due to the charges that I filed for terroristic threat that is in the judge under her, that's right here, Judge Geis's court. Everyone's seen the video. Everyone's seen how she threatened me in that restaurant. Everyone's seen everything that happened with that. And then, of course, she ended up receiving the charges for terroristic threat. She did have her first court hearing. So here's her court documents for terroristic threat.
I don't know, terrorist. I don't know about that. No, that's not good. I don't know.
And what we're not going to do is have no sitting judge, no other person that's her friend, that's friends with the judge, or the judge that has her case to interfere with justice. That's what we're not going to do. You did what you did. You are going to be held accountable for what you did, period. And who we have here. Here is the Uber route, because Miss Aisha Shaheed had court on June the 30th. This was on June the 28th, where Miss Natalie Stewart, who's friends with Miss Shaheed, was at Judge Curvey's house. This is the actual map that comes directly from the Uber driver who was there at the home.
Oh no, wait.
Here's the picture on the day of the 30th. And the person that has her, that is Miss Natalie Stewart, who was at Judge Curvey's house. And then, you know what? Let's look a little bit into Natalie Stewart. Natalie Stewart is also rapper Cartel Bowl's mom. Also, Miss Natalie has a severe criminal history. We got assault on a family member, aggravated robbery, food stamp fraud, theft,
well done. Good property.
And theft again. Why is this woman with that kind of background at Judge Curvey's house on a Sunday? Here's another mugshot of her. Why she at Judge Curvey's house on a Sunday before their court date? Another mugshot. Why is she at Judge Curvey's house, who is a Harris County sitting judge? She's there 2 days before this girl court date. Another mugshot. Why was she at Judge Curvey's house 2 days before Aisha Shaheed's court hearing?
This fraud is wild.
And there's another mugshot.
Wow.
And there's another mugshot.
Wow.
And there's another mugshot. And there's another mugshot.
The record right there, like a whole folder.
There's another mugshot.
It's like this thick.
There's another mugshot.
The police terrorized me.
There's another mugshot.
She's getting uglier too.
And there's another, last but not least, mugshot.
Right there.
Where they do this at, people. And this is the same judge.
You're right for that.
That we have Judge Curvey.
Look out for wig and shit. That's
where we have filed several judicial complaints on Judge Curvey. So what I want to do at this time, before we get more into the weeds of this, I would like to bring the actual eyewitness who reported this crime that they all was conjured up with. Come on, Miss Wooten.
I dangerous.
Yeah.
I just say
I was got a ride, received a ride to pick up Natalie at the judge's house, and she got in my car, was on the speakerphone with Miss Aisha, and the whole conversation was about Dr. Matthews and Miss Aisha's court date, and I just felt like it was wrong for her to do that, and that I needed to do something. So I reached out to Dr. Candace about it.
And just so you know, she can't really go into the details of the case, that this is an open criminal investigation. So she just gave you the gist, but she did turn in the information that is needed to the district attorney's office to open up this criminal investigation. So is there anything else you would like to say, Ms. Regina?
No, that's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Regina. And see, it's people like this that have integrity and honesty, because you never know who know Dr. Matthews. I don't been more know Ms. Regina from a can of paint, but Ms. Regina, just like all of you, you see me out here on the front line every day fighting for us. And for her to hear that foolishness that she heard and how that is a crime, they're going to be held accountable for it, because we're going to follow this to the letter. Also, we have Mr. Kyle French, who's also one of the court watchers and also one of the warriors that fight on this battlefield for us, as well as families in this court that we have in Harris County and also across the state of Texas. Kyle French.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm here in support of Ms. Regina. We thank you for having the courage to stand up and come forth with new information about things we already know about sitting Judge Diane Curvey. What the city of Houston doesn't understand, what Harris County doesn't understand, is everything that touches Judge Diane Curvey is dying. And she is a cancer spreading to other courtrooms. So much so that she is now the big fix, that people are meeting her privately. They're Ubering, like the little old lady from Pasadena, on a Sunday to hurriedly get over to Judge Curvey's house and negotiate their way out of trouble in somebody else's courtroom. Now, we did watch the video of Candace getting run up on, and I'm glad that she's okay. That's what our law enforcement decided to do, is arrest this person based on the evidence that they saw. Judge Curvey's not presiding over this case. So she has and should have zero influence. However, that's not the case because of her vendetta against Dr. Candace Matthews and myself. So we're here today in front of Sean Tier's office, 1201 Franklin, and we're here to submit public integrity sworn complaint forms because what we have is evidence of public corruption. We've seen where the judge has extorted her own husband. She's jailed whistleblowers like myself and many others. And we've seen where she's using campaign contributions, $5,000 to Toby Johnston. If you're listening, Mr. Toby, you're in this too. She used her campaign money, private funds for personal legal battles, personal money from her, campaign money for personal use to hire Mr. Aubrey Taylor, who I've only met a couple of times. I don't know what his problem with me is, but
It's not always
to slander us.
Right?
And these are personal vendettas. They have nothing to do.
And he's a convicted felon
And he's a
several times.
convicted felon.
God.
So she's doing business with all the crooks to try to get rid of the people that have the flashlights.
Mm-hmm.
And really, that's all I have to say. I hope the people of Harris County see this, and I hope Sean Tier sees this and our Supreme Court. And I'm calling on our Texas Commission on Judicial Conduct once again to remove this poison pill judge. It's not a personal thing, and it is for me, but I'm here doing this on a daily basis because there are other people and they keep spreading to others. So we really hope that the DA will investigate what's happening in Judge Curvey's court.
No, he is investigating. It's an open criminal investigation. That's already happening.
Good.
Right now.
Let's hope so. I'm hopeful for that. I'm ready for that.
No, it's actually
Good.
happening. What we're hoping for is an indictment
That's what we need.
because the criminal investigation is happening. And I want to just throw this in here. So y'all right here. Look at them, y'all. We're waiting on a criminal indictment with all of them and anybody else that's involved. I also want to add, I want the district attorney, when they deal in this investigation, I want them to pull all the cameras from her house. We want to know who else been meeting at her house. How many other people that this have been done to, where they over here trying to interfere with different cases of people who they don't like or people who they want to help. We want to know what's going on with that. We want to know about her phone records, who all she's been calling. We want to know about text messages. We want to know about everybody that's involved on this picture. We want everything pulled, everything, because there is something not right in the buttermilk, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And then speaking of Judge Curvey and Judge Geis, would you please hold this for me? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Judge Curvey, we just got something back from the SCJC on you. So you are still under investigation and they almost done so they can give it to the commission. And I smell sanctions coming. That was one that was sent.
Another round.
And look, and another one that they sent me directly about you. And Kevin got one as well. And guess what else is happening? Judge Geis, I hate that I got to throw you in the grease, ma'am, but the witness had your name in there. The witness heard that you was involved. So at the end of the day, is that I'm like what my grandma used to say. I'm going to give both of you because I know I'm going to get the right person. 2 judicial complaints already ready to go. And this will be sent today. So let me tell y'all something. We're not playing with no judges around here because the judges, you guys work for us, the citizens of Harris County. Politicians, you work for us. And one thing that we are not going to tolerate It's none of this corruption, none of this little friend buddy stuff to do favors and all this kind of stuff. No, you are going to govern the law, the color of law in the correct way. You are going to do it the correct way. Now, Miss Aisha Shaheed, everybody across the nation seen what your ass did. Everybody seen it. So you're not going to play the victim. You're not going to do none of that. You're going to be held accountable because I was minding my business, ma'am. You can't roll up on me. And they always want to play the victim when you get caught. That's not what we're doing. So again, we're going to follow that case. And then we're going to look to see what the SCJC is going to do with these complaints because I'm overnighting them today. I'm not playing. Judge Kirby, you're always getting people in your shit. You turn around, now you got this lady Judge Geis in it. Judge Geis, I'm just going to be honest with you, ma'am. I'm finna drop you in the grease because she heard the whole plan. And you know how my grandma used to always say people loose lips sink ships? Well, baby, this ship has sunk. And a criminal investigation is already underway as we speak. I'm just waiting on the indictment. Do we have any questions? But we cannot speak on the logistics of the actual case because there is an open investigation. And they're going through this so they can get it prepared to give to a grand jury. We're not playing. Over 5. Over 5. This is the same judge who put my name in her protective order against her husband. This is the same judge who refused to recuse herself from my case. And Judge Susan Brown seen the corruption and removed her. This is the same judge that's trying to take out my entire crew with protective orders. So the very people who stirs up the mess wants to play victim and then want to roll through her court because she's the only protective order judge. But I got news for you, because anybody that's in my crew under my wing, we are going to go for motion of recusal on everything. Let me tell you something. I protect everybody in my crew. Everybody. They even try to come after my security, my head of security. Yeah, you ain't finna get him either. So, ma'am, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. You better explain how you got this here funding coming from Buc-ee's. You better explain about you buying cigars with that campaign finance money. You better explain why you over at this place called Poor Behavior with campaign funds. You better explain why you loaning your own self money, thousands of dollars with your campaign money. You better explain how you done paid a convicted felon to come after me and my court watchers because we holding you accountable. You gonna explain how you run around here misappropriation of funds too. And I done already jacked your behind up with the Texas Ethics Commission as well. And everybody over here finna file that complaint too because we done seen what you did. So at the end of the day, don't try to go and erase them cameras because the DA them got a bad security cyber team and they can retrieve all your shit. Don't try to go and try to get rid of them phone numbers because they gonna pull it. Don't try to get burner phone. They gonna pull it. The jig is up.
I find some of this other shit going on. They said you do have messy petty shit. If you got it like that, you
who's the badass? Paid a bunch of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We'll get to that later.
Because
use your resources and help with specific cases that missing time and stuff is like like I don't know the Nolan case. Like I mean, you couldn't use your resources. They got a massive AI. Bitch, you can't use your fucking powers to help out a situation just like this. And now you're going after like the judges shit because you learned from the Carmelo Anthony case. You just don't want to look like this, even though you've made some grave errors in judgment when it came to certain individuals that you're talking about. Like, come on, man. Like, this is what activism is now. I just gotta know. I just have to know. Let me see what's over here. Hello, kitty. I heard you. Okay. Let's see. I just really gotta know. I'm like, it is salacious. That shit was mad salacious.
Just east of Aurora, Colorado, there's a stretch of land that most people driving past would never look at twice. Flat, quiet, unremarkable. For decades, it was a U.S. Air Force missile launch site and gunnery range, land the state gradually acquired starting in the 1960s, and then, essentially, forgotten. No drilling rigs, no industry, just history, sitting under the grass. And yet, in August 2024, that same patch of ground was approved for one of the largest oil development projects in the state's history. Up to 155 wells, over 32,000 acres. A resource so significant that one oil executive called a prolific development area in a basin most people assumed had already given up its secrets. Which raises an obvious question. If this land has been sitting there since the Cold War, untouched, why is it suddenly one of the most valuable oil opportunities in Colorado? The answer isn't that anyone found something new underground. The rock hasn't changed. What changed is the ability to reach it. This is Lowry Ranch, and the story of how it went from missile silos to one of the most contested oil approvals in Colorado's history says a lot about how modern oil discovery actually works, not as a hunt for hidden treasure, but as a slow unlocking of resources that were known, mapped, and simply out of reach. To understand why Lowry Ranch matters, you have to understand the basin it sits in. This is the Denver-Julesburg Basin, often called the DJ Basin, a broad structural depression that stretches across northeastern Colorado and into Wyoming and Nebraska. It's not an obscure formation. It's one of the most heavily produced oil and gas basins in the country, home to tens of thousands of wells drilled over more than half a century. But the Denver-Julesburg Basin's real story isn't in its size. It's in what's buried inside it, a layer of rock called the Niobrara Formation, laid down roughly 85 to 87 million years ago, when a shallow inland sea covered much of what is now the American interior. That sea was rich with microscopic marine life, algae, plankton, tiny organisms that lived, died, and drifted to the seafloor in staggering quantities, layer after layer, for millions of years. Under normal conditions, that organic material would have simply decomposed. But the seafloor here was often low in oxygen, which slowed the breakdown and let the organic matter accumulate instead of disappearing. Over time, it was buried beneath more sediment, chalk, marl, shale, compacting into a source rock dense with the raw material for oil. Beneath the Niobrara sits another key layer, the Codell Sandstone, a thinner, more porous formation that would later become just as important as the source rock above it, for reasons that take a little longer to explain. As millions of years passed, the basin kept subsiding. More rock piled on top. Pressure increased. Temperatures rose. And at some point, deep in that slow burial, the organic material locked inside the Niobrara crossed a threshold, the point where heat and pressure convert ancient plant and marine matter into liquid hydrocarbons. This is the moment the system switches on. Oil begins to form, not as a pool, but as something trapped molecule by molecule inside incredibly tight rock. And this is where the Denver-Julesburg Basin starts to behave differently than a lot of classic oil stories. In a conventional oil field, hydrocarbons form in one place, then migrate, moving upward and sideways through porous rock until they hit a trap, a fold or fault line that stops them. Where they pool into a reservoir, a drill can hit directly. That's the kind of oil field wildcatters spent a century searching for. Find the trap, hit the pool, strike it rich. The Niobrara doesn't work that way. Much of its oil never migrated far at all. It stayed locked inside the source rock itself, distributed across enormous areas in concentrations too low and rock too tight for oil to flow on its own. For most of the 20th century, that made it functionally invisible to the industry. Geologists could confirm the oil was there. They just couldn't get it out in any quantity that made economic sense. That's the paradox, sitting underneath Lowry Ranch specifically. Civitas Resources didn't discover the Niobrara. Nobody discovered the Niobrara in 2022. Companies had leased and drilled around the edges of it for decades. What changed wasn't the geology. What changed was the tool. Horizontal drilling, paired with multi-stage hydraulic fracturing, rewired what counted as a viable oil field. Instead of drilling straight down and hoping to intersect a pocket, operators could now drill down, turn, and travel laterally through the source rock itself for a mile or more, fracturing the tight formation along the way to release oil that had been sitting immobile for tens of millions of years. Rock that was once a source with no accessible reservoir became the reservoir. And that single technological shift is what turned a forgotten Air Force gunnery range into one of the most valuable undeveloped acreage positions in the state. Civitas had actually held a lease on Lowry Ranch since 2012, more than a decade before the 2024 approval. For years, that lease sat mostly dormant in terms of active drilling, generating royalty income through preliminary work while the company built out the technical and regulatory case for full development. By the time the state approved the project, that lease alone had already generated $73 million in royalty payments, plus a $137 million signing bonus, all of it flowing into Colorado's public schools through the state land board. The land had been quietly paying for itself long before a single new well was drilled. But knowing the oil is there and being allowed to go get it are two very different problems. And this is where the Lowry Ranch story stops being about geology and starts being about everything else. Regulation, land use, and a fight that took almost 2 years to resolve. In October 2022, Civitas submitted what's called a Comprehensive Area Plan to Colorado's Energy and Carbon Management Commission. Essentially, a master proposal to develop the full 32,000 plus acres using a small number of surface locations, 7 to 10 pads, each one launching a fan of long-reach horizontal wells stretching out beneath the land in every direction. The idea was to minimize surface disturbance by concentrating the footprint, while still reaching oil scattered across a huge underground area. The modern answer to a resource that never behaves like a single, findable pool. The proposal didn't move quickly. For nearly 2 years, it went through hearings, revisions, and pushback from nearby residents concerned about air quality, water use, and industrial development encroaching on a rapidly growing suburban corridor east of Aurora and Denver. This wasn't empty land in the way it had been decades earlier. Houses had crept closer. Subdivisions that didn't exist when Civitas first signed its lease in 2012 were now within a few miles of the proposed pads, and school boards, county commissioners, and environmental groups all filed formal input into the review process. The politics of drilling in Colorado had shifted too, with the state tightening regulations on emissions and setback distances in the years leading up to the vote, part of a broader statewide push to reduce ozone-forming pollution along the Front Range. Every hearing added conditions, noise limits, air monitoring requirements, restrictions on truck routes to keep heavy equipment away from residential streets. None of these conditions changed what was underground. They changed how carefully and how slowly anyone would be allowed to reach it. In a sense, The 2-year approval process was its own kind of trap and seal, a structure the project had to pass through fully intact, without breaching, before anything could be extracted. The Commission didn't approve the plan as submitted. It approved a modified version on August 7, 2024, by a 3-to-1 vote, up to 155 wells, 7 to 10 surface locations, with a condition that mattered as much as the number of wells itself. All drilling equipment on site had to run on electricity, not diesel. That single requirement reflects how differently a project like this gets built today, compared to even 10 years ago. The oil hasn't changed. The rules around reaching it have. So the real story of Lowry Ranch isn't one discovery. It's 2, layered on top of each other, separated by decades. The first is geological, organic matter buried under an ancient sea, cooked into oil over millions of years, locked into rock too tight to give it up. The second is technological and regulatory. A company willing to hold a lease for over a decade, wait out the hearings, meet the emissions conditions, and prove that a resource everyone already knew existed could actually be developed responsibly enough to get approved. Neither one works without the other. You can have the most productive source rock in the basin sitting under public land, and it means nothing if the drilling technology can't reach it economically. And you can have the technology ready to go, and it still means nothing if the regulatory and community fight around it never resolves. Lowry Ranch sat in exactly that gap for years, geologically proven, technically reachable, but politically and procedurally unresolved, until, in August 2024, it wasn't anymore. It's worth stepping back to see what this actually looks like at basin scale. The Denver-Julesburg Basin isn't unusually blessed with oil compared to other tight formations across the country. What it has is proximity to Denver, to existing pipeline infrastructure, to decades of drilling data that de-risked the geology long before anyone touched Lowry Ranch specifically. Operators working the basin's edges since the 1970s had already mapped where the Niobrara thickened, where the Codell sat cleanest beneath it, and where the rock held enough organic richness to be worth the cost of a horizontal well. By the time Civitas turned its attention to Lowry Ranch, the basin wasn't a mystery. It was a known quantity with one specific, well-documented block still sitting undeveloped in the middle of it, protected less by geology and more by its ownership as state trust land and its history as federal property. In a lot of ways, this mirrors how mineral exploration works more broadly. The valuable ground often isn't the unknown ground. It's the known ground that nobody could economically reach yet, sitting there until the tools, the capital, and the regulatory environment all line up at once. Lowry Ranch is almost a pure example of that pattern, stripped of any mystery about whether the resource exists. The only variables left were engineering and permission. That's the pattern worth remembering here. Lowry Ranch wasn't a lucky strike. It wasn't a wildcatter drilling a hopeful well in open country and getting surprised. It was a resource that Civitas, the state, and independent geologists had a very clear picture of for years, quantified, leased, and waiting. The only open question was whether all the pieces, horizontal drilling economics, emissions compliance, community approval, regulatory sign-off, would come together at the same moment. And that's exactly why Lowry Ranch matters beyond its own 32,000 acres. Colorado holds roughly 3 million acres of state trust land scattered across the eastern plains, much of it inside or near the Denver-Julesburg Basin's productive footprint. For decades, land like that sat outside serious development conversations, either because it was too politically sensitive, too close to growing communities, or simply because no one had built a regulatory model for drilling responsibly near them. Lowry Ranch just became that model. The comprehensive area plan structure, the electric-only drilling mandate, the concentrated pad design that keeps 32,000 acres of subsurface reach contained to 7 or 10 surface footprints. None of that is unique to this one ranch. It's a template, and templates get reused. That's the part that turns this from a single company's win into a statewide inflection point. If the Lowry Ranch approval holds up and performs the way Civitas projects, it hands every operator with acreage near state trust land or near a formerly restricted federal parcel a proven playbook for getting projects like this through hearings that used to end in rejection or years of stalemate. For the State Land Board, whose royalties fund Colorado's public schools, that's a template for unlocking similar dormant leases elsewhere in the basin, at a moment when the easy, uncontested oil in the Denver-Julesburg Basin is largely already drilled. The remaining upside increasingly sits in exactly this kind of ground, publicly owned, historically off-limits, geologically proven, and now, procedurally possible. Drilling didn't wait long after the CAP approval. Through 2025, Civitas began working pad by pad, each one requiring its own separate state approval on top of the master plan. And by the end of the year, dozens of wells across the ranch were already approved or under construction on pads sited farther from the nearest homes. The full build-out is expected to stretch through 2029, well by well, pad by pad, rather than arriving all at once. Not every pad has moved as smoothly. One proposed location, closer to nearby homes than the others, was put on hold in December 2025 after regulators voted to delay it, citing resident concerns and a recent health study examining risks near oil and gas operations. It's a reminder that the 2-year fight over the original approval didn't end the scrutiny. It just moved it from the basin-wide plan down to the level of individual well pads, one at a time. Civitas hasn't put a public figure on exactly how much oil the ranch as a whole will ultimately produce, and with drilling still rolling out pad by pad, that number won't really be knowable until more wells are in the ground and producing.
Oh, they know.
But based on how the rest of the Denver-Julesburg Basin has performed, this isn't a marginal play. Wells drilled into the Niobrara and Codell nearby have, in some cases, set state production records. At 155 wells across a resource this well documented, the volumes involved are substantial, measured in years of steady output, not a handful of lucky strikes. And when those wells do go down into that old missile range, they'll be reaching for oil that has been sitting exactly where it is now for roughly 85 million years, through the inland sea that deposited it, through the tens of millions of years of burial that cooked it, through a Cold War missile installation built directly on top of it, and through a suburban expansion that grew up around it without anyone realizing what was underneath. The oil was never lost. It was never even really hidden. It was just waiting for a drill bit that could turn sideways, and for the years of hearings, pad by pad, it took to get permission to use it.
Like, there's no, like, come on now. Then you talk about what they do with it. And, of course, they have projected numbers. Like, that. So, well. Act like they don't know, right? Let me see. Oops. I wonder why I did that. Come on, fella. No idea why. It's acting all weird right there. Okay. Weird. All right. That was strange. Okay, so thank you for watching The Revolutionary Agenda. I'm your host, the Black Villain, production doll. Want to thank you all for watching The Revolutionary Agenda. I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here, just because I have a couple of other things that they're a little longer, and I didn't think I was gonna be able to make it through. And then my leg is kind of numb sitting like this. Just hear it sliding out. It's crazy. So yeah. I don't know when I'll be able to do another one. I know that today is Saturday, and we have Frontline Black News tonight, so I don't know if I'll be able to squeeze another one in. I might be able to later on, like after Frontline Black News, maybe if it's not too late. Most likely, maybe, possibly Sunday. It depends on what Jesse's talking about. So, usually how he runs his Sundays. So we'll see. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Goddess Navi. Thank you, Ray, for coming through. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys later. Thank you for hanging out with me. Hope you learned something. That was hella interesting. I learned something new about Colorado all the time, but it just shows that what agenda that was all about, and there's a reason why they didn't, that there wasn't any oil drilling all the way up there. Like I would just leave things alone, you know what I mean? However, they don't want to. So when these weather calamities happen here, we'll know how it happened and what was really behind it. Greed, pretty much. So thank you for watching the Revolutionary Agenda, and I guess I'll see you guys for Frontline Black News later on this evening.